Come on in, guys. Come on in. Got another good one for you tonight. It was all the way lit today, so I hope you guys enjoy this live stream on tonight and get ready to participate. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, man. We have so much going on, so much to cover. A lot of stuff happened today. I knew today was going to be a special day, but I thought it would be special for other reasons. Um, they had some mess. They had some mess going on today. Today. If you did not tune into what was going on with the trial today, you really missed out. But guess what? And I'm going to get you up to date. I'm going to get you where you need to be with all this. Angela, I spoke to you in the chat, but hey again, because I folks don't usually speak. So hey girl, hey. So man, they didn't even call that many people up today, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get into this thing because I do not plan on staying on here all night. They didn't call a lot of people up today, but the people that they called, they were memorable. And when I mean memorable, they were definitely memorable. They gave you something to talk about. Let's give them something to talk about. It was crazy. So going back into this case, again, what I wanted to do tonight was just break a few of the things down that were said in the trial. A lot of terms that were used and things that were said, people may be familiar with them. And then there were other things you probably like, what in the world are they talking about? So today, like I said, it did not disappoint. We basically only looked at three people today. We looked at an orthopedic surgeon, which was Dr. Moore. We looked at a psychiatrist, which was Dr. Siegel. And then you looked at another young lady, and she was like an entertainment consultant, somewhat of an entertainment consultant, and she was speaking on whether or not the op-ed that was done by Amber, whether it actually affected Johnny Depp's career, or if what she's calling the smear campaign that was put out by Amber, did that affect her career? I still don't see what a smear campaign was put out at. I hadn't seen it, but maybe it's not. I ain't included in the group. Maybe just because I ain't included in the group, I wasn't one of the ones that was supposed to see it. You know, it is sometimes people have groups. That might be included in certain things, and maybe I just wasn't included in that group. Let me get this chair up a little bit. So that's highly probable. Chocolate chip, hey, how you doing? How you doing? So, man, let me tell you. Let's just start. Let me just give you something crazy that happened today. Y'all think some of this other stuff that's happening out here is crazy, and you got like fans that are like off the wall. Let me show y'all something that happened today, and it was hilarious. So you have to see that you got some of the foolishness like all over the place. It's not just with one group of people. It's not just one sector. You got foolishness all over the place. So let me start off by
courtroom now. Anjanette, good to see you this morning. I understand that something happened in court today. Walk us through it.
Oh, it was crazy, Jesse. You know, we've been
courtroom now.
They don't want me to pause it. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna show y'all this, and it may not be funny to y'all, but it was hilarious to me. But the shenanigans are all over the place. So, okay, here we go. I'm gonna just let this one play all the way through. So Johnny, he got some special folks too that he's dealing with. So see if I can get that here, get this here.
Now, Anjanette, good to see you this morning. I understand that something happened in court today. Walk us through it.
Oh, it was crazy, Jesse. You know, we've been, good morning to you. We've been hearing the testimony, obviously, from these two expert witnesses for Amber Heard. But as we were taking that morning break, everybody stood up, right? And the camera goes up to the seal because Judge Askarani walks out of the courtroom. All of a sudden, this woman, and she's walking behind me. She's actually down there, right behind this green box of sorts. She stands up in the back of the courtroom with her baby, and she says, "Johnny, I love you. Our souls are connected." And he kind of turned and waved as he does sometimes. And everybody waved, and you saw one of the deputies come toward her, and she held up the baby, and she said, "This baby is yours." And everybody was like, "Oh,
sad ain't so,
okay."
Johnny.
And the deputy's like, "You're out of here." So the deputy got her out of the courtroom. She was removed. She's like, "Yeah, okay." And they clipped off her wristband. But obviously, even if the judge is not on the bench, you can't be doing things like that. And, you know, yelling out that your souls are connected and that you love somebody. And then other people started chiming in as well. So it was pretty wild. So not testimony, but that is something you didn't see on the live feed.
Say it ain't so,
A
Johnny.
snippet of it, I doubt it, but it's something I saw because I was literally standing right across the aisle from this woman, and I just couldn't get out of my bench, you know, to get out of the courtroom because it's pretty packed in there today. But it was a moment.
So basically, in the midst of all this, y'all, Johnny found out that he has a love child. Johnny done messed around and got a love child in the midst of all the debauchery. In the midst of all the debauchery that's going on, Johnny done messed around and got him a love child. Shout out to Johnny. Shout out to Johnny for that. That was too funny. I'm like, oh, so we got a little cray everywhere. She said, "This is your child." This is your child. You know, Johnny just waved and smiled. That ain't my baby, but hey, he just waved and smiled and went about his business. But yes, so Johnny, he had a little bit of the debauchery. He had a little bit of the debauchery today too. So, but just in case somebody's just coming in on this, that is not Johnny's baby, okay? Look, she wanted to tell him he had a love child. That is not Johnny's baby. Johnny said he don't know that woman. He don't know that woman. That is not his baby. But I thought that was too funny that she just stood up in the midst of it all. The judge walked out. "I love you, Johnny. I love you. I love you. And here's your baby." Hilda Lane, hey, how you doing? So she tried to give Johnny a baby today. So if that's not a highlight for you, I don't know what it is. Breaking news: Johnny got a love child. He found out while he was in court. This is your baby. I don't know where Mari at to confirm or deny, but that lady said that was Johnny's baby. Okay. So, like I was saying, we had 3 main people that came through today. We didn't do all the video depositions and all that. Thank God. We got that part out the way. And pretty much it's coming to an end this week. Depending on how long the jury takes to make their decision once closing arguments are made, that's gonna be it. Two things that came about today. Johnny was supposed to be testifying for the defense. They were supposed to put him back on the stand, like they were going to try to catch him up in something. So it was confirmed today that they will not be calling him back to the stand. So he does not have to get back up there and testify. The second thing, now that Miss Amber, in her attempt to make Johnny look bad and say that he had another situation where he abused one of his exes, physically abused one of his exes, she mentioned Kate Moss. And people were saying, "Man, we wish Kate Moss was coming." Well, the people asked and the people got what they wanted because Miss Kate Moss is coming to take up for her friend Johnny. She was like, "You know what? I done had enough of this." And that's why whenever Amber had mentioned Kate Moss's name, whenever she was doing her testimony, and you saw Johnny and his team get out, they dapping each other up and high-fiving, and well, they ain't take it that far, but y'all know they dapping each other up. They were all excited because she brought Kate Moss up, and once she brings her up, then they're open to bring her in. Just like when Whitney, brought in Miss Jennifer Howell, once you bring her up, then that gives the other team an opportunity to bring them in, where otherwise they wouldn't be able to bring that person or that information in. So those two things, Johnny Depp will not be testifying. I know a lot of people have went to Virginia just, with the hope of seeing him testify. That's not going to happen. He'll still be there, but he doesn't have to testify. I also found out last night that the judge granted them basically the opportunity to decide whether or not they want to be there for the final ruling. They don't have to be there. Neither one of them have to be there for the final ruling. I wish he was there. The person that would be there, but I would love to see the look on Amber's face. Some people saying it's gonna be video. But the fact that she's still gonna be on the screen that says it's gonna be a video, they didn't say it was gonna be pre-recorded. So hopefully it's gonna be a live video. So, if she was Petty Boots and hey Johnny, just petty. But we hope people get on the stand and act right. But they did not today. Okay, the people did not act right today. So I'm gonna start out with Dr. Moore, with orthopedic surgeon. Okay, he came on. He was credible. He was credible. But the thing is, looking at him talk, he said off the rip, y'all know Johnny's always looking down. He's looking at the tablet. He's looking at the paper. He's drawing. Johnny's looking down at his paper. Okay, so no, this is going to be a live video. Okay. Johnny's looking down at his paper while Dr. Moore was talking. And the minute Dr. Moore said that his injury didn't come from the beer bottle, the liquor bottle, Johnny head popped up like he had seen, like it was an exorcist situation. And that doctor had his undivided attention from that point on, because Johnny looking like, how in the hell you gonna tell me how my finger got, because amputated, cut off, partially cut off, however you want to put it. And Dr. Moore, he was special. Everybody was special today. I'm just saying, Dr. Moore wasn't the most special out of all of them, but everybody was special today. He was more of a calm special, but they still had to read him his rights too. He did hear. He was like, huh? What you say? He was like, nah, bro. I got to hear this. He kind of leaned in a little bit on him too. Like, I got to hear this. So Dr. Moore came in. He got Johnny's attention with that. And I'm going to tell y'all, when Sister Camille came in, y'all know Sister Camille come in and she don't be playing. So she had to get him right real quick. But let me just give you a little piece of Dr. Moore. And I don't know what was going on with people today. I don't know if the attorneys told him, get up there and like do your thing. If you want to be a little combative with the attorneys, you can be a little combative with them. Like, that must have been the memo that was sent out this morning, because some of these people were to the point of, just being blatantly disrespectful. They were all comedians today. Everybody wanted to get their one-liner in. But let's start out with Mr. Moore and see what he had going on. Now he came a little bit, but it wasn't quite as rough as the other people, but I'm thinking, I just want to start with where Camille just went into him real quick, but I guess that wouldn't be right. Let me do this the right way. But Lord have mercy, Lord, she ain't play no game. Lord, she ain't play no game. Okay. So we'll just actually, you know what? I'm just gonna start with where Camille I don't know. I'm gonna just start it here. I'm gonna just start here where Camille had to get with him real quick, and it just
courtroom now. And Jeanette, good to see.
It just goes to show you like where everybody was at with this, them feeling like they could come at folks any kind of way. Because I mean, when I tell y'all it was rough.
Now, and Jeanette, good to see you this
morning. Camille had to get with these people and tell them that she says she is not the one.
Now, and Jeanette, good.
Y'all, this little baby video want to keep popping up. Camille had to tell them that she was not the one or the two, and all of this. So let me do this real quick. Let me do it right. They had disrespect on the brain today, y'all. So let me show y'all how this disrespect got addressed real quick. Y'all know Camille won't play with these people. She didn't come to play. She flunked what they say recess because she didn't want to play. She refused to play. She didn't come to play. Let's get it.
Line 4. Question, but you can't rule it out completely, right? Answer, I can't rule anything out completely. I can't rule out that he caught it in the door, cut it with a knife, or slammed it in the car door. Or, again, as Dr. Gilmer said, we can't definitively say what caused this injury. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would object to the incomplete impeachment. I think if she's going to read his answer, she also needs to read or give Dr. Moore the chance to read the paragraph below. She just picked out half of his answer.
You can redirect.
Yeah, as well as the paragraph above.
Dr. Moore, there's no question pending. Thank you, though.
Thank you, though. He don't know what to say. Look at his face. I'm rewinding back so y'all can get the whole thing, but look at his face. Oh gosh, what I do? What am I supposed to do with this? Because I'm telling you, I honestly think that they spoke with them from the beginning and told them that they could be combative while they were on the stand. I don't know, like today was different, but what they were talking about was his finger. She was getting with him about that. So this is what he is responding to. But Camille say, that was not a question. I didn't ask you anything. Thank you. Bye-bye. Like that's what it was. She was, I ain't coming to play with y'all. We're not doing this today. I am not them. That's what Camille said. I am not them. I am not them. So let me go back and take that back because that thing this tickled me. I'm gonna take it back one time. One time for the one time.
Line 4.
Correct.
Question, but you can't rule it out completely, right? Answer, I can't rule anything out completely. I can't rule out that he caught it in the door, cut it with a knife, or slammed it in the car door. Or again, as Dr. Gilmer said, we can't definitively say what caused this injury. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would object to the incomplete impeachment. I think if she's going to read his answer, she also needs to read or give Dr. Moore the chance to read the paragraph below. She just picked out half of his answer.
You can redirect.
Yeah, as well as the paragraph above.
Dr. Moore, there's no question pending. Thank you, though. So you can't rule out that the injury was caused by a car door either. Is that right?
Oh, Lord.
Correct.
Okay. He's like, whatever.
But it's your testimony sitting here today that you can rule out that the injury was caused by a vodka bottle. Is that your testimony?
My testimony is that I can rule out the injury as caused by the mechanism described by Mr. Depp in his deposition.
Look at
But
John.
you can't definitively say what caused the injury to Mr. Depp's finger.
Well, the definitive injury was a crush injury, but again, I can't say. I mean, I think that it's quite likely that the initial mechanism described at the time of presentation of the accordion doors would classically create this injury pattern. You know, the hand up in front. If you picture accordion doors as the edge is closed, if the hand's up, the palm is exposed. If the door's pushed,
Dr. Moore,
closes about the fingers.
I understand that. But my question is,
I think it's important that they understand that.
this is the time for me to ask you questions. Your counsel will have the ability to rehabilitate you and ask you questions on redirect. Right now, let's try my question.
Okay.
You can't definitively say what caused the injury to Mr. Depp's fingers. Yes or no?
No.
Okay. In conducting your analysis of Mr. Depp's finger injury, you did not attempt to reconstruct the incident. Is that right?
And let me just pause that right there. Camille is not playing with these people. Woo! Oh my goodness. y'all have played enough games. Like they said, they are not playing with these people. They don't have time for the shenanigans. They are not playing. Yeah, that injury was awful. Like it was terrible. But the thing is, and what, like, they're playing this game when something, if there is an object and there's some projectile, like, you don't know if he flinched. Like, you don't know. You can say, unless you got some real equipment, so like some law enforcement equipment, you can't say that it didn't do this or it didn't do that. The bottle exploded. Like, it hit. We don't know if it was the actual bottle that hit his hand directly or if it was when the bottle cracked wide open that it actually did it. But either way, this guy, everybody's going off hearsay. Nobody's really going off the information, the real information and the testimonies and all that. So this is why she getting ready to hit him over the head with his own testimony, because he didn't look at everything. And all he did was go off what Amber's team told him. So now they're going to have him on here looking like a fool. And you see, even at this point, he's already starting to stumble on his words a little bit, because he know Camille about to get at something. Like, you didn't even reconstruct the whole thing to try to figure out if it was possible. You said that the bottle came head on. Johnny testified from the jump that she threw the thing at an angle. It didn't just come head on like that. And all your testimony has been that he just threw it, that the girl just threw the thing straight up, and that it wasn't a possibility. It was like there was no possibility that this could have caused this damage to his finger. But if there is a heavy bottle being thrown at you, are you really trying to tell the jury that that heavy bottle coming at a rapid speed can't crush? It can't have that same impact of crushing a finger, a delicate finger. The tip, and his thing was based on the fact that the nail was still intact, that it didn't injure the nail. Let me go on back to him real quick, and let's finish this one out. Let's finish.
Well, I think the incident was reconstructed. You mean, did I throw a vodka bottle at something?
No, no, Dr. Moore. I mean, you didn't do any type of accident reconstruction, either computerized or any. No. You didn't conduct any type of accident reconstruction of the alleged.
No, that's correct. My opinion is based on the medical records and the clinical images and Mr. Depp's description.
And your analysis is based on an understanding of how Mr. Depp described the exact positioning of his finger at the time of the injury. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And your analysis is also based on the assumption that Mr. Depp's hand remained completely still in the incident.
And who has that rule? What organization?
Oh, I didn't mean to go to this one yet. Hold on. So let me just stop this one for a minute. Let me go back, because we ain't ready to go to him quite yet. Yes, that bottle can do all types of damage. I don't know. Nothing's really going to happen to these people. They're in a civil case, just talking. So in all actuality, they're not worried about any type of repercussions, about
in the back corner near
getting on the stand and lying, and like they really don't care. I'm gonna start this one about right here. And this goes back to what she was saying about the reconstruction. If you're going to get on the stand and testify that there's no possible way that this bottle could have done this, then at some point you would think that you were going to reenact the event to actually see if that's even a possibility. That's why she was asking, did he do that? And he's like, oh, did I throw a vodka bottle? Like, come on, dude, you can get something that's not a vodka bottle. Did you do any type of reenactment to see if that bottle could have possibly caused that damage? Are you just basing on what the people said to you? Mind you, he said he went through everything, but he didn't go through everything like he said. So let me give y'all this. This is where Camille basically, y'all, you talking about, when I tell you she did not play any games with these people, none of them did. Like, really, none of them did. They were awesome. They were awesome at presenting their case. Hildeland, I'm starting to think that we're the only two that was watching this thing. I don't think everybody else was watching. It might have just been us that were watching it. I don't know. I don't know. But let's
the bottle was hurled at him. Yes?
No, my assessment is on his description of the vodka bottle striking the top of his finger.
But his hand stayed still, according to your analysis, yes?
I guess it was still long enough for the bottle to hit, but natural reaction would be to try to pull away.
When you perform traumatic finger surgeries, you inquire about the cause of the injuries, correct?
Correct.
And your best information on that is typically just the self-report of the patient, yes?
Correct.
And your assumption is that the patient is trying to get care. Because the patient is trying to get care, that patient is generally telling the truth, right?
You would hope so.
Yeah. You reviewed Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony informing your opinion about Mr. Depp's finger injury, correct?
Correct.
Informing your opinion, did you consider Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony that while Dr. Kipper was providing emergency treatment
Objection,
for
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Depp?
May we approach?
Okay.
This attorney already know where Camille getting ready to go with this, so he trying to cut her off at the knees. He already know what's about to happen. He already know what's about to happen, and he's trying to cut it off wherever he can, and his efforts are going to be in vain. You already know what's about to happen. He already knew. Camille gonna Camille. That's what Camille gonna do. Camille is gonna Camille. But he already knew where she was going with this, and she got that smile because she already know what she about to do. The damage.
Let's start over because it's important the jury hears this. So informing your opinion, did you consider Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony that while Dr. Kipper was providing emergency treatment for Mr. Depp's finger injury in Australia in the driveway of the house, Mr. Depp told him that his finger was injured when Miss Heard threw a vodka bottle at him?
I don't recall that from the deposition. I'd be happy to review if you have the deposition available.
Did you consider Dr. Kipper's testimony that he recalled that Mr. Depp's finger was found in the kitchen?
I do recall that.
So you must have also seen Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony that he wasn't the one who actually found the finger, correct?
That's correct.
Dr. Kipper testified that someone he thought was the chef told him he found the finger in the kitchen area, correct?
I'm going to assume so without reading the deposition now.
Did you review any testimony from Ben King in rendering your opinions today?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did you see any of Mr. King's testimony at this trial?
I did not.
Okay. So you're not aware that Mr. King testified that he is the one who found Mr. Depp's finger, are you?
Uh-oh.
No.
And you're not aware that Mr. King testified that he found Mr. Depp's finger in the bar area, right?
Correct.
Uh-oh.
And you're not aware that Mr. King testified he found Mr. Depp's finger in a piece of tissue in the bar area, either?
No.
Uh-oh.
And you're not aware that Mr. King testified that multiple broken liquor bottles were also found in the bar area, right?
Correct.
If we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1817, which is already in evidence. And it may be published, please.
I just don't have it yet.
That would help.
Yes. I just have a blank screen at the moment. There we go. Oh, start something.
Thank
There
you.
we go. Okay.
Have you ever seen this picture before, Dr. Moore?
No.
So you're not aware that this is the bar area where Mr. King testified he found Mr. Depp's finger?
No.
Do you see that broken vodka bottle in the back corner near the bottom of the bar?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Say what?
Do you see the blood drops on the floor?
Yes.
Say who?
Can we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1820, which is already in evidence?
Wait a minute.
Have you seen this picture before, Dr. Moore?
I have not.
Oh,
So you're not aware that this is also a picture from the bar area where Mr. King testified he found Mr. Depp's finger?
Correct.
Do you see the bloody tissue on the ground at the bottom of the bar?
Yes.
Do you see the blood drops around that tissue?
Yes.
So you didn't consider any of this evidence in rendering your opinion about how Mr. Depp injured his finger in Australia, did you?
I did not.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Redirect. Yes, sir.
We gonna stop there right there. See what I'm saying? That's why, and he seems like an honest man. He actually seemed like he came in there and he was just trying to give his little testimony or whatever. But I'm thinking that maybe they didn't give him all the information. I don't know. I don't know. Hell, I'm still looking for the phone. I'm still looking for the phone. And the phone wasn't even one of the things that the doctor mentioned could have cut his finger. He didn't even mention it being one of the things that could have cut his finger off. I'm like, Doc, you didn't do your research, Doc. You let these people get you on this stand and made you look like a fool, Doc. Yeah, chocolate chip. He can tell he in trouble. He definitely, he knows he in trouble. You just let these people come and play you, Doc. It was real simple. Camille just came in real quick. Bam, and got him on up out of there. I was like, bless his heart. Bless his little asthmatic heart. Now, they're going to come back on the redirect, and I'm not going to play the redirect, but they're going to come back on the redirect and try to revive him. Or how Camille said, try to rehabilitate him. Camille said they'll come back and rehabilitate you on the redirect. They're going to come back and they're going to try to rehabilitate him. But it's not going to work. It is just not. Yeah, it didn't do what it was supposed to do. The rehabilitation wasn't rehabilitating today. The redirect wasn't directing. It didn't. And the thing that's interesting to me is, again, you got these professionals that, even though, like, why are you gonna put everything on the line for like this stuff? Like, and they getting paid good money. Because let me tell you, this particular Dr. Moore, he got paid $1,000 per hour, just for the deposition and preparation for stuff that was going on. And then he gets $5,000 per hour for his testimony. Okay. Y'all do the math. Y'all can go back. What is this thing? Y'all do the math and go back and look and see how long he was up there. And you can at least figure out how much he was paid today. Okay. Just for coming up there today. So that would be one of the reasons why, I guess, people just go and do what they need to do. And as they stated, he has already testified for them in some other cases. So they pretty much knew what to expect. And so the same thing with Dr. Hughes. They had already called on her in some other cases as well. So they knew what to expect of her. This is why, people pick their own people, and they usually pick the people that they are familiar with. Because if they get somebody that they know just going to be up there and be straight up and don't care about what they getting paid, that's not the person that they're going to hire. That's not the person that they want on that stand for them. Like, no, we don't want you. 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 Yeah, they don't want you. They don't want somebody that's going to come up there and just be straight up. So we're going to transition over because the doctors had their day today. So like I said, Dr. Moore was an orthopedic surgeon. So that's why he's speaking on the hand and all that stuff. And then we transition from Dr. Moore to Dr. Siegel. Now, Dr. Siegel is a psychiatrist. Y'all know I was looking at him closely. Y'all know I was looking at him. I don't know what this is flying around in here, but it's about to get on my nerves. Dr. Siegel was a little bit different. He was a little different. Dr. Siegel, he is a teaching psychiatrist, basically. So he does a lot of teaching through a university. I think it was in Virginia. It's like a teaching hospital. Kind of like, for those of you that watch Dr. House? But instead of it just being like regular medical stuff, he's like the psychiatrist of that. But bless Dr. Siegel heart, Lord. He came in real strong. He came in really strong. His direct was awesome, and the reason why it was awesome. And let me say that I got to give the Amber's team credit for that because they put somebody up there that was going to take up a lot of the time, somebody that was going to have the jury's undivided attention because he is a teacher. And he's going to sit there and explain stuff. And I know that they told him, take your time. We're going to ask you a question, but if you want to elaborate a little bit, take your time. We're not going to stop. If the judge stop you, then you stop. But otherwise, we not going to stop. We're not going to stop. So you have him. So let me just give y'all a little background for a minute. So you know that I speak on here, I talk about different types of personality disorders. So just so that everybody on the same page so that they know what Dr. Siegel was talking about. He's talking about cluster B personality disorders. These are the same things when you hear me referring to axis 2, even though they're not really using the axis anymore. That just shows you how long I've been in the game. As the DSM changes, so does the lingo. So this cluster B is basically the same. Well, it's not basically. It's the same thing as the axis 2 personality disorder. So in those cluster B's, in that cluster B, you got antisocial personality disorder, you have borderline personality disorder, you have histrionic personality disorder, you have narcissistic personality disorder. And all these things are enough to like interrupt a person's life in a certain way that they get put in this particular cluster. So you got the cluster A, cluster B, cluster C. So they get put in this particular cluster. So when you hear him talking about, he keeps mentioning cluster B. They keep going back to that. That's what they are talking about with that. And actually what I wanted to do for y'all, in case y'all want to take some notes, I went and pulled something and I'm going to put it, let me see if I can put it beside this while he's, I can't do that. I just put this up on the screen real quick. Let me switch this out real quick. Let's switch this out. Let's make sure we all on the same page with this thing here, so we know what the grind zone is. So let me see how this showing over here. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so you got your cluster B personality disorders. This is a lot of what they're going to be talking about today. So I want to make sure I go over this real quick. What are personality disorders? For people that want to know, it's a mental disorder that's caused by an unhealthy pattern of thoughts and behaviors. People with these disorders often struggle to interact with the world. This disorder makes it hard for them to understand social situations and relationships. Here you see the cluster A and the cluster C. Cluster A and cluster C is not being discussed today. Cluster B, y'all, something is flying around here and it is driving me crazy. Cluster B is absolutely being discussed today. As I stated, antisocial, borderline, histrionic, narcissistic behavior disorders. Now, at the beginning, he was talking as if Johnny Depp actually had a personality disorder. But once he got checked on it, then his diagnosis changed to just traits. That's why sometimes you hear me say that you have a person that has narcissistic traits, and then you may actually hear me say, oh, this is what a narcissistic personality disorder looks like, because the traits and the actual disorder, they're not the same thing. Somebody can have the traits and not have the full-blown disorder. They may just have some of the traits. They can have another personality disorder, but also have those narcissistic traits. Because usually if somebody has, somebody has one diagnosis, a lot of times they show symptoms or they may have traits of another personality disorder. So people with these types of disorders have a specific pattern of behavior. They tend to crave attention on a constant basis. It's common for them to occasionally show symptoms. Here it is, of at least one other personality disorder. I'm going to skip on down. Certain people with cluster B disorders avoid treatment because they don't think there's anything wrong with their behavior. Antisocial personality disorder. I've spoke about this on this channel. To be clear, this is why I correct people when they say I'm antisocial. You do not say that you're antisocial because you don't talk to people. That is not what antisocial means. That means you don't like talking to people, period. It's not being antisocial. I don't like being around people. I'm antisocial. Again, if you knew what you were saying about yourself, you probably stopped saying that you were antisocial. What antisocial means is that you say bump the laws. Like you don't respect the laws, you don't respect authority. When you're younger, we're doing these tests. We're trying to see if you set animals on fire when you were young, if you was trying to set the house on fire, if you were like doing stuff like we trying to see if you basically got like some serial killer traits. It's not about you sitting there not talking to people. So antisocial personality, this describes people that often break social and legal rules to get what they want. They are antisocial because they are against society, societal rules, the norms of society. That's what antisocial means. Has nothing to do with you not wanting to be around people. Symptoms of antisocial personality disorder: aggressiveness, impulsiveness, lack of remorse, frequent problems with the law, disregard for safety, persistent lying, consistent irresponsible behavior. These are some of the things. Now, they're not listed exactly like all the other criteria that's in the DSM. That part is not written out because this is just an article. But it's a good article. It's on point. The next one, borderline personality disorder. You hear I say BPD. That's what that stands for, borderline personality disorder. If you hear it in the clinical field, you may just hear us say, oh, that person is borderline. You usually don't hear the personality disorder like, yeah, they borderline, or they got some borderline traits. Like that's what you may hear. So that's what this thing is. They have a weak sense of self-worth. This is one of the diagnoses that Amber received from Dr. Curry. So I'm going to go over this one. They rely on other people in their lives to help them feel stable. They often have inconsistent moods that flip from very positive to very negative without a clear cause. Now, I want you to think of the audio recordings, think of the videos, think of Amber on that stand. And you can see why, at least on this side, again, I am not here to diagnose anybody. I'm just going off the stuff that has already been said. I'm not trying to give anybody a clinical diagnosis. They have already been diagnosed. I'm just speaking on it. Okay. But this is one of the ones. Now, mind you, Amber actually has 2 cluster B diagnoses. So this is the first one, borderline personality. You may idolize your favorite person until they do something wrong. Mind you, at the beginning, she idolized Johnny until Johnny started doing stuff a little different, and maybe he stopped, treating her like the little princess or whatever. And things start getting real when you get past that honeymoon phase. Stuff start getting real, and some of the stuff that was cute, it ain't necessarily cute anymore, and stuff start taking a little turn. You may idolize your favorite person until they do something wrong. That flips your opinion, and then you will cut them off. Notice that none of the people that Amber had in her previous relationship, all these people that were friends with her, all these people that were up and through their house, she is not friends. She doesn't have a relationship with any of these people. She's trying to rebuild relationships with these people because of this trial, and she needs them to testify in her favor, but she does not have these relationships with these people. These relationships are non-existent at this point. Other symptoms of BPD. And I'm going to go through these because I want y'all to see if y'all identify any of this from what you've seen so far. Deep fear of loneliness. This is one of the things that I was saying, that maybe whenever Johnny was leaving, when he was trying to get away from the fight, she took that as him trying to abandon her. She doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't want to feel like she has been abandoned. But if I got to get away to keep you from hitting me, then you're going to have to feel abandoned for a minute. You definitely going to be lonely because I'm getting out of your way. I'm going to hide in this bathroom. I'm going to hide in this bedroom, whatever I got to do, and lock the door to get away from you. Frequent displays of anger. We've seen it. We've heard it. Feelings of emptiness. I think about the times when she's on the recording. No, you can't do this. I'll die if you do this. I'll do this. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do if this, like, what is your life outside of Johnny and this world that he's put you in? What is your life outside of that? Unstable relationships. We don't even have to go into that. Impulsiveness. We don't have to go into that. She is very impulsive. She definitely has a lack of emotional impulse control. Black and white thinking. Risk-seeking behavior such as gambling or unsafe sex. Amber was out there a little bit. Suicidal threats. She has made those before. Okay, this one's going to go into her other diagnosis. This is the other diagnosis that Dr. Curry gave her, histrionic personality disorder. People with this, listen now, they want attention all the time and they actively seek out that attention, whatever way they can get it. They don't care what they got to do, if they got to hurt you, whatever they got to do to get that attention, whether it's positive or negative, they are trying to get that attention. They usually be very aware of how they look all the time, just bang. Now think about the writing that was left on the mirror, whether it was done by Johnny or done by Amber, but it had a little lyric from the song. It was basically, "You're so vain, you probably think this song is about you." We got that vainness that's coming in here. All right, they overreact. I mean, they so far over the top, and we saw this with her on the stand with the fake crying, with the, like I said it before, she was overacting, not overreacting, but overacting and overreacting when she was on the stand. It didn't match up. People with HPD may overact to small events. You might appear to be fine 1 minute and then burst into tears when you're told that you can't do something. You may also have trouble maintaining relationships because of how you act. Once again, with the first and the last one we got, you're going to have trouble with your relationship because people are not going to deal with this stuff. Other symptoms include strong opinions without actual knowledge. We've seen that on the stand. Dramatic behavior. We've seen that on the stand. A constant need for attention. We've seen that on the stand. Shallow emotions that change quickly, just like that. Oh, I'm crying. Remember that first video I showed y'all where she was one way and then just with the snap of the finger, she completely different way? Because Camille switched something up. Camille switched her questioning up and she didn't like it. And there was an objection and her whole demeanor just changed because like the scene changed. Like it changed just that quick. Suggestibility. Okay, the last one is narcissistic personality disorder. This is why I also mentioned that even though someone may have a diagnosis, have a specific diagnosis, if it's a cluster D diagnosis, and a lot of times it often shows symptoms of other cluster D diagnoses. So here we go right here, this narcissistic personality disorder, because I feel that she exhibits some of these symptoms. That first one up there being manipulation. It is what it is. We don't have to go, we don't really have to go into that. And let me even go back to this. They people that have narcissistic personality disorder don't simply have high self-esteem, but actively believe they are more important than other people should be. They are more important than other people and should be treated that way. And that's where I said that grandiosity comes from. You just got all these grandiose thoughts. You feel like you way up here and everybody else is down here. You have nothing to substantiate whatever feelings that you have. That's just where you put yourself. Like nobody else put you there. You put your own self there. Many people with this disorder react badly to criticism and events that they dislike. Manipulation. These people are more likely to take advantage of people by manipulating them. They may have overly emotional responses if you don't receive, they may have overly emotional responses if they don't receive the attention that they feel they deserve. They may also overact to situations to keep people focused on them. So no matter what's going on, they're going to find a way to bring the attention. They got to draw that attention back to them. It doesn't matter. It could be a house burning down the street on fire. Well, what about me? I know the house is burning, but what about me? What about I'm burning on the inside? They're going to find a way to turn it, just find a way to turn stuff around. They have to put the attention back on them. That spotlight has to be on them no matter what. Again, think about the stuff that's going on with Amber. Think about the stuff that you've been seeing with this case so far, the audio, the video, like everything, the pictures, everything. Think about what's going on and then think about why Dr. Curry, even when hers came with a lot of testing, but this is what I was saying before, even without the testing, just her behaviors alone, she exhibits a lot of those characteristics. And why in the world Dr. Siegel was talking about the stuff that was going on with Johnny, and didn't mention any of the stuff with Amber, he kept giving her an excuse saying that someone that has been through something traumatic or through intimate partner violence, when she kept putting on her that she was a victim of that, he was completely just disregarding the fact, okay, well, if the stuff that you're saying should be true for Amber, the same thing should hold true for Johnny, because he's been through some trauma. You know what I'm saying? So why would it be true for her and not be true for him? So he was extremely biased in his opinions on this. Other symptoms of narcissistic personality include arrogance, envy, expectation for praise, expectation for favors, fantasies of power or success, no acknowledgement of others' successes. And the other one is not, it's not on here, but Laura, lack of empathy. They lack, like they have zero empathy for other people. And you heard this with her again on the video. When he's saying, you hit me, you did this, you did that. No, I didn't, Johnny. No, I didn't. Like, completely disregarded his feelings about anything that we can hear on the recording. She would never acknowledge his feelings, and she would gaslight him in the same sentence, because when he tried to tell her how he felt about something, she came back and told him that his feelings weren't legit. Everything that he was saying, nothing was legit. Like, how are you saying I hit you? I punched you. I didn't punch you. I hit you. Like, you're a baby. You're a wuss for saying that I did these things. You're a wuss for saying that I hurt you. No, what you're doing, you're gaslighting. He's not a wuss. He understands that you're gaslighting, and you got it all on tape right now. You recorded the gaslighting. You know what I mean? So, and that wasn't listed on there. But that, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. You don't have to go and do the MMPI, and you don't have to do a mental status exam. You don't have to do all these different exams. And they talked about mental status exams on here a lot. So one of the things that he honed in on is when the mental status exam is done, there's it's not really, I guess you can call it a question, but there's a section on there where you're going through the exam, and then you're giving them 3 words. You make up 3 words to give them. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 words. I need you to remember: dog, flower, cup. And then you start going and you start talking about something else. Just keep on talking. After a period of time, you come back, you get them to remember to give you what those 3 words were. Okay, let me be honest with y'all for a minute. When I do that, if I don't write the 3 words down, like, I have forgotten the darn words my darn self. Like, it depends. Like, you have so much stuff going on. I have honestly forgot the words that I gave. And I'm sitting up here and I'm like, and that, like, if I give you the words, I learned, let me write these words down so I remember the words I just gave these people. Like, let's not. But from Johnny not being able to remember those words, he was basically saying that he had a cognitive deficit because he couldn't remember those words. And then there were some other things that went along with that, but he definitely honed in on that mental status exam and him not being able to remember those words as a symptom that of his ongoing drug use, which it could be, don't get me wrong, but just them not remembering those 3 words, depending on what somebody has going on at the time of that exam being done, that could definitely play a part in whether or not they remember those words. Depending on what they're actually talking about while you're giving them that exam, it's not like an exam. Depending on what you're talking about, what kind of information they're giving you, what they have going on in their life at that particular time. Are they anxious? Are they excited about something that's going on, about, what's going on in, like, it's just so many factors that come into play that you can't go and merely just take the fact that they can't remember all 3 words as a sign that their memory is shot. It's a little bit more than that. And there are other parts of that test and other things that we're looking at. We also have to see, are they oriented to person, place, time? Like, we're looking at all this stuff. So are you telling me that Johnny didn't know what dad was? He didn't know where he was at. He didn't know who he was. Like, there's a lot of different things that will have you looking to see, okay, we got some cognitive stuff going on right here. Something going on with dude cognition. Are you saying all that stuff was all out of whack? Because it's even in the recall, whenever they're giving you information when in the midst of that exam, or if you're doing an assessment or whatever, them being able to recall certain events, are we really saying that something is wrong with their cognition? You got to meet with them a couple times for you to truly say that they have this stuff going on, because you don't know in that particular day, at that particular time, what they have going on that could possibly be affecting their cognition or their memory at that particular time. Because, child. So I wanted to touch. Let me see. I wanted to make sure I touched on a couple things before I went into comorbidity. I say co-occurring, but when you hear them say comorbid, they're just talking about a person having more than one diagnosis at one time. So they got a diagnosis of depression, and they may also have a PTSD diagnosis, or they got a diagnosis of depression, and they may also have an anxiety diagnosis. They got a diagnosis of like Amber, because they actually she had um, BPD, histrionic, and bipolar disorder diagnosis. So you got some co-occurring. You just got multiple diagnoses occurring at one time. So that's another thing that you're going to keep hearing him say on here. And then one other thing that they talked about, and I'm going to show the video on this, they talked about the gold water rule. And that's the thing that he went off on. And basically, this was something that came up because you had some psychiatrists coming out here that was all up in the political realm, completely stepping out of the scope of their job, trying to use their job to help promote or get involved in some political stuff that they had no business being in. So ultimately, with that gold water rule is, and I'm going to pull this up for you so you guys can see it for yourself. We all about making sure we got factual, actual in here. So let me see if I can switch this up real quick. So I'm going to stop that one and let me give you this one so you can see it for yourself. And then you'll see why he was getting so upset, because they pulled his card. They really pulled his card, and he was pissed about it. He did not like it. He did not like it. But what the attorney was saying, it's in writing. He didn't just make it up. Now, we fall under the guise of APA, but our APA is different. So he's operating under the American Psychiatric Association. We're operating under the American Psychological Association, and for me, the American Counseling Association. So you have this gold water rule that they pulled up on him, and it basically called him out. And his response to it didn't make sense, because this rule that was put into play, it doesn't apply to the other things that he was trying to call to the forefront. No, this applies to you. This came from the American Psychiatric Association. It didn't come from the American Medical Association. And that's why the attorney went back and said, well, are you familiar with AMA? And when you're talking about the American Music Awards, or are you familiar with the American Medical Association's rules? Because you're supposed to be operating under both. You're a psychiatrist. You fall into that MD category. Psychiatrists are not PhDs. We PhDs. They're MDs. So are you familiar with the American Medical Association's rules? And he's a fellow for APA, for American Psychiatric Association. So let me, I'm gonna make this big so you guys can see this. So let me take myself off. And I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but they have a sidebar. So we'll just go with the sidebar, because this is what the attorney was addressing. The ethics annotation, known as the gold water rule. On occasion, let me see if I can see this. Hold up. Okay. On occasion, psychiatrists are asked for an opinion about an individual who is in the light of public attention, or who has disclosed information about himself or herself through public media. In some circumstances, a psychiatrist may share with the public his or her expertise about psychiatric issues in general. However, it is unethical. Here's where it gets deep. It is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion unless he or she has conducted an examination and has been granted proper authorization for such a statement. This is what the attorney called him out on. I'm going to go down here. Maybe y'all can see it in bigger print. It's all the way at the bottom. Here we go. Here it is again. Hold up. It is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion unless he or she has conducted an examination and has been granted proper authorization for such a statement. Okay, this is why the lawyer got in his behind about this. With him coming up there speaking so bold, you done had all this stuff to say about this man. You done went and you darn near gave him a diagnosis on here. You can go and try to take it back at the end, but you diagnosed him, doctor. You diagnosed him on that stand, and you gave all kind of professional and unprofessional opinions about this man. So much so that in your unprofessional capacity, you called him an idiot. And then you try to go back and take it back when they called you on it. You called this man an idiot. There was nothing that was professional about that statement. This is why the attorneys called him out on that statement. And when he figured out where the attorneys were going, this is when his mannerisms, his attitude, everything about him changed. And that jovial person that he was on that stand when he was in teacher mode, he was in professor mode, all that went out the window, and he became street doc real quick. He was street doc because he was like, who are you to call me out on anything? And as a matter of fact, there was one statement where he was like, why are you questioning me about psychiatry? I just told you what it was. Meaning, I'm a psychiatrist. Don't question me on anything. I told you what it was. Trust me, I'm a psychiatrist. Who are you? You're an attorney. Don't try to tell me. And you know, we can get a little nasty with folks by that sometimes. But he was nasty of the nasty when he was up there because he got called out. Now, you want to let people know that you were a fellow and you had all these accolades and stuff like that when it came to the American Psychiatry Association and the other things that you were involved in. So it's fair game when they come and call you out about something that you, as a fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, should be knowledgeable of. So it's only right for somebody to come and call you out on that because you should be following the rules. You cannot be selective about which rules you choose to follow, which is what he said. Everybody doesn't follow everything. I mean, it doesn't apply. It does apply. If it don't apply, then let it fly. But that means if it don't apply for you, then that means it don't apply for anybody else. And anybody can run right here and say whatever they want to say, practice the way they want to practice, do whatever they want to do, and nothing can be said about it. We cannot make exceptions for Dr. Siegel. I'm just saying. So that's my little rant. That's my practitioner rant real quick. So let me go back into let me let you see what Dr. Siegel had going on. And I'm gonna let this one play a little bit because for me, I think that this was like the most important part of today's hearing. He was doing too much. He was doing too much. He was just doing too much. He was doing oh my goodness, y'all. He was too through. He didn't know what to do with himself. He was just through. Doc was through. I got so tickled. I'm gonna skip over his direct. Y'all can go and watch the direct. I want y'all to see how Doc lost his cool on the stand. This is interesting to me because y'all know we're supposed to keep our cool. Even on my channel, you know what I'm saying? You got to keep it cool. Even if you might want to curse somebody out for a minute, you got to keep it cool. Don't be sitting on here and never let him see you sweat. Never let him see you sweat. You got to do like Johnny. You will never see these eyes again. Like you got to be real cool. You got to be real cool with your stuff. So when Doc loses it, he was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yes. So when Doctor loses it, it's like, oh, Doc said ain't so. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. So let me get into, let me find the right one so I can just focus on that part. Let me see. Yeah, we'll start right here. Let me pause that right there and get you guys in the right place. If y'all need to get y'all a little drink or something while this stuff playing, because I'm gonna let this one play out a little bit, because y'all got to see Doctor in action. And I gotta watch too, because I might find something else that I missed while I was watching it live. But this was interesting. This was definitely it. Today was it was comical for me. But again, to also see, you know, somebody from the field show their tail on the stand like that. Now I hadn't seen that before. I ain't never seen that yet. I haven't seen that before, so y'all have to excuse me for a minute. And please don't say I'm being unprofessional. I'm not coming on here as a clinical practitioner at this time. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm doing my own little analysis on what happened on today. So y'all just might have to look over me today because this was special. This was special. So let's make sure we got this up here.
Well, yes, sir. Been around for almost 50 years, right?
Yeah, I'm 59. That sounds about right.
Yeah. And it's been around as a result of a presidential election that you referenced.
Yes.
And who has that rule? What organization maintains that rule?
They're talking about the gold rule.
An association you're a member of.
Associated by a member of, yes.
Aren't you a fellow or something?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, and this is an ethical rule, right?
It is an ethical rule. And yes, it's ethical. They say rules. It's an ethical guideline. Yes, they're guidelines.
Mm-hmm. And you know that over time, the American Psychiatric Association has amended the rules, so it's not just about diagnoses, but it's also about professional opinions.
Could you be more specific, say, about professional opinion?
You know what he's saying, Doc. You know what he's saying.
Let me read this and see if you're familiar with it. It is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion about an individual based on publicly available information without conducting an examination. That's the rule, right?
If you're reading it directly, I will believe you.
Okay.
You know that's the rule.
However, a diagnosis is not required for an opinion to be professional. So my question is, it's not just diagnosis that this Goldwater rule applies to, it's professional opinions.
So again, I'll reiterate that would come down to essentially nullifying witness testimony, expert witness testimony, without a direct evaluation. And as you know, it didn't happen. But regardless of that, the whole expert witness testimony thing would be basically rendered null and void.
The rule, in fact, contemplates that issue, doesn't it, sir?
Again, I'm just telling you the answer to the question. When you're reading those statements, I'm telling you the response by the other side, who has published also, is that if that was the case, there could be no expert witness testimony in the courtroom.
Psychiatrists are ethically prohibited from evaluating individuals without permission or other authorization, such as a court order. That's the rule, right?
Again, if you're reading that, then I have to believe you're not misrepresenting it.
Let me press pause for a second. Y'all, did we not just read the statement verbatim? Is that not what the statement says? This is what made me ill about him, because you're getting up there in a professional capacity. Don't get up there trying to BS the system. Like, don't do that. Do not do that. You know exactly what this guideline is, since you don't want to call it a rule. You know exactly what this guideline is, and you're getting up here BSing right now. Like, let's not do that. Let's not do that. If you don't agree with it, just say you don't agree with it. But don't get up here BSing, and then you try to bring all the other expert testimonies in here saying that all of the expert testimonies based on this would be null and void. No, this is from the American Psychiatric Association. Psychiatrists, it has nothing else to do with anybody else's field. This is from your people. This is from your people, of which you are a fellow. So stop trying to BS these people on this stand. Stop it.
And I would come back to, again, then this whole thing, we might as well get rid of all the expert witnesses we've had throughout all of time. for court proceedings. Because what you're saying is unless a court orders it, and that's what you just said, or the APA said, then therefore expert witnesses cannot do an evaluation based on an observation of the medical records. Insurance companies cannot do evaluations solely based on the medical record where their doctors rendering professional opinions. So at the end of the day, you are essentially saying that unless someone has directly evaluated it, this whole medical system we have, this whole legal system we have is null and void.
I'm not saying
No, yes, you are, sir.
I mean,
You are.
give me a second, and I'll give you more than a second. What I'm saying and what I am reading to you.
Hold on. Okay, let's just look at Doc's face for a minute. Doc is pissed off. Doc is pissed off because that man came at him with facts. He came at him with straight facts. And again, if that's what it says, and if you're saying this, then it's not if he's saying this, that's what it says. There's no in between. Now, in this particular situation, it seems like he may be exhibiting some narcissistic traits. I'm just saying, I ain't saying he's narcissistic. I'm saying he might be exhibiting some narcissistic traits in this particular moment. You get that. Come on, Doc. Doc. Really? Really? And he is mad about this thing. This look and his demeanor is, how dare you question me? He said later that Johnny had a sense of entitlement. No, here's the entitlement. Here is the entitlement. And when you hear the slight that he makes towards this attorney, it's probably a few minutes into this. This is the entitlement. How dare you question me? Like I'm the god of it all. Don't sit down somewhere. You know what that man said was facts. He was not giving you any opinion. He read to you exactly what this thing said because you and the attorneys that you work for brought up the Goldwater rule. So since y'all brought it up, they went ahead and finished it. And they finished it by giving you the actual words that were on that paper, what those actual rules are, or guidelines, as you want to say it. Like he's giving you exactly what's on there, and you're sitting up here trying to BS these people on this stand, and it's just not a good look. And for me, everything that he said in that direct that made him credible, this cross-examination made everything that he said just erased everything that he said for me, in my opinion. But let me hush. Let me hush.
Is a rule by your organization that takes into account that there could be court orders that would permit the exact kind of evaluation that you say I'm eliminating.
And I think we're going in circles because I think I just said that means expert witness testimony would not be allowed, and the branch of forensic psychiatry would be especially hindered. And we know the branch of forensic psychiatry does not prohibit that. So I am a member of the APA. That doesn't necessarily mean every single thing they put in there, everybody has to uncategorically agree with, because clearly that's not the case.
Did you agree in your deposition that the professional opinions you rendered were inconsistent with the Goldwater rule?
Yes.
My first was inconsistent. If we're saying that if the Goldwater rule says, and I very much said that during the deposition, that the Goldwater rule was made for presidents and public figures such as that, but regardless of that, because that's what it was made for. It's not made for Hollywood, but I'll even take that Mr. Depp's a public figure.
It's a public figure.
What I'm saying to you is that the Goldwater rules say we cannot do any expert witness testimony in our field. That is exactly what the Goldwater rule is saying based on exactly what you read. And I'm just telling you what you are saying that rule encompasses.
What I'm asking you, sir, is did you comply with the ethical requirements of the APA when rendering the professional opinions that you've rendered today?
It is a requirement of the APA. It is not the requirement of the APA. Secondarily, in order to not, we wasted our whole morning because there was an expert witness before me. There's expert witnesses everyone brought in. So all I'm saying to you, that means the whole field of medical legal law is corrupt and unethical for engaging in an act that the APA clearly says we should not do. So if you're saying that, then the answer is yes, I'm agreeing with that statement.
That was in reference to you, Doc, psychiatrist.
You're agreeing that the APA would deem your testimony and your professional
Look at the man in the front, not his.
unethical.
I'm saying you are saying that I'm an expert witness. I'm saying as an expert witness, and solely as an expert witness, that guideline is permitting that from occurring. I would say then that the whole field of expert witness testimony, again, would be disavowed by what you are quoting in the gold order. And we know that's not the case, because if it was, we would not be allowed to do it.
Cut the bull, Doc. Everybody's testimony would not be disavowed. Your testimony would be disavowed. Because if we're going by the guidelines of APA, then you have got up there, you're supposed to speak in general. In general, you're not supposed to be getting into all these details and all these specifics. That's why you're getting up there giving your opinion versus giving actual factual information based on some assessments and some evaluations that were done because you didn't do them. So I'm getting choked up. That's where all the opinions are coming from. And that's why he's so pissed off right now, because he knows that they got him by his neck right now with what they're saying. That he can spin it as many times as he wants to, y'all. But this is what has him so worked up, because he didn't expect these people to go and do their research on this. And again, I am the doctor. How dare you question me as the doctor about what I'm saying, because I am the know-all and be-all when it comes to this psychiatric thing. So how dare you question me on this? And this is why he's getting so upset. His facial expressions, he cannot hide it. It's like that little piece of hair that's up top, like it just keep going higher and higher the more upset he gets. This right here is so disrespectful. It's so unprofessional, because he is not being true while he's on that stand. A lie by omission is still a lie. Like you're not being truthful while you're on that stand. And do believe that if somebody came before the APA with some issues that they had going on or whatever, then they will hold these people to these rules that they have in place. But you sitting up here saying that the rules don't apply to everybody. I guess it's just when it concerns you. I don't know. Let me carry on.
And you said the rule was for presidents, right? And
that was initially for presidents, yes.
But, and the name of the rule came from that. But the rule says it is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion about an individual. That's right, sir. It's not just presidents. It's
not just presidents.
Figures. It's individuals.
Funny, it was named after according to your logic, if you don't put something in the title, it's not true. That's what you told me this morning, I believe, about my intimate partner violence. So what I would say to you,
Patty,
sir, is that if you say this about an individual, again, any court would have to render an expert witness testimony invalid. Any doctor that reviews charts would have to render it invalid. I can go on the list of docs that do not see or interview patients directly, and that's a violation. So basically, you are saying that unless you do a direct clinical evaluation, then all of the field of forensic psychiatry and all of managed care is
not
doing
so.
an unethical violation.
Press pause. Okay, so if you get a record in, let's say somebody was transferred in, or let's say somebody is new, and they already have a history of some stuff going on, and you get that previous record. You get that previous record, but whatever you do is going to be based on the evaluation that you give them upon you seeing them. You may try to go and you'll look at what they see and kind of see if it matches up to what you have going on, but you don't go and base your whole clinical experience with that person based specifically off what somebody else said. You have to do your own evaluation with that person. Upon them becoming your client, you got to do an evaluation with that person. You can't just go off, and you for darn sure can't go on the stand going to testify to what somebody else said. You can't, he said, no, you cannot go testifying to what, just like the minute they say, well, such and such, it's hearsay. No, that is not your, what did you find? What were your findings? Not what these other people said, not what was in somebody's deposition. What were your findings? See, it's completely representing himself and the whole field, all fields, when it comes to that, because that's not how this works. That is just not how this works. And he just got jammed up And instead of him just coming out and saying, you know what, you got a point there. He just want to keep this mess going when at this particular juncture, he is in the wrong. He is so wrong. And he can just let it go. But that's why I say I'm seeing some narcissistic tendencies in this particular situation myself, even with him trying to out-talk the attorney. Let it go. Just let it. You know what? You're right. You're right. I can see. You're right. And just so you can go on to the next question, because right now, this is not a good look. And once again, I say the more he talks, the more his previous testimony, no bueno. No bueno.
Because we are not seeing the presence. We deny patients medications all the time without seeing them. We deny patients treatments, unfortunately, without seeing them. And I'm on the receiving end of that. So the answer to your question, again, unless you were saying to me that all of this is unethical, which is what you are saying. This is how I'm interpreting what you are saying to me. That unless you do the evaluation directly yourself, therefore, it could not be considered ethical. And I'm telling you how that's applicable to not just expert law, but also managed care. It's applicable to multiple branches of medicine. Hospital duration of hospitalization stays.
Look at Johnny like this,
So,
bull.
Tell me where you want me to end this.
Well,
Sorry.
why don't we talk about what you just testified to? Because I didn't ask you anything about that. I asked you whether, under this rubric, under this principle of medical ethics, have you acted unethically?
Yes.
No, as an expert witness, I have not acted unethically. And if you want the jury to believe that expert witnesses are unethical, then I guess that's for them to
gaslighting. This is gaslighting, y'all. What
question.
he just did. That let me take this. That was gaslighting. I want to take this back. Just hold on. This is look at Johnny's face right there. Johnny said, what the hell? But this is the perfect example of gaslighting. He just turned around and tried to gaslight the jury. Y'all,
Unethically. Yes or no?
No, as an expert witness, I have not acted unethically. And if you want the jury to believe that expert witnesses are unethical, then I guess that's for them to decide.
Yes
that's
or no,
for them
sir.
to
You
decide.
said no. Let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Right? Psychiatric diagnosis occurs in the context of an evaluation based on thorough history-taking, examination, and where applicable, collated or collateral information. You'll agree with that?
I believe I said that earlier, yes.
Yeah. And it's a departure from the methods of the profession to render an opinion without an examination and without conducting.
That man just said he crazy. Hold on. I think I just read his lips on this one. Y'all tell me if y'all think I'm wrong. I'm gonna take this back. It's like Johnny Attorney just whispered over to him and said he crazy. Let me just let me hold on. Where is this at? Okay, let's see.
Or collateral information. You'll agree with that?
I believe I said that earlier, yes.
Yeah. And it's
Right
a
now.
departure from the methods of the profession to render an opinion without an examination.
He said he's crazy. Did y'all see that? Hold on.
In
Let me see y'all comments. Is that what he said? Is that what he just said? Or am I tripping? Did he just look over there and tell Johnny that the man was crazy? I'm gonna take it back one more time. Johnny Attorney just leaned over to Johnny and said he's crazy. Y'all watch now. Watch. Tell me if I'm wrong. This attorney right here, he's gonna lean over to Johnny and say he's crazy.
And it's a departure from the methods of the profession to render an opinion without an examination.
Right now. Y'all saw it.
Hold on. To render an opinion without an examination and without conducting an evaluation.
Am I tripping? He said he crazy. Oh my God. I told y'all today was lit. You hear me? It was so much going on. None of the cameras caught that. Y'all got that on Carolina Diamond. None of the cameras caught that. That man, he leaned over Johnny said he crazy. Bless his little heart. Let me go on back into this. I told you I got too much time on my hands right now.
In accordance with the standards of psychiatric practice, correct?
Well, again, by the way, for the record, intimate partner violence is not a psychiatric diagnosis. I'll start with that.
Now he's telling the truth. Okay, let's get into this really quick because I had touched on this before. Now that he's being called out about trying to diagnose people from the beginning, because when you were talking before, you had like IPD was a diagnosis. We knew it wasn't a diagnosis, but the way you talked about it, you act like somebody had been diagnosed. Like it was in the DSM. It's in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual that IPD is a diagnosis. Intimate partner violence. That's how you brought it. Intimate partner violence, substance use, just all by itself. You act like that was a diagnosis that Johnny had. He had substance use. I ain't never seen it written like that. That's part of it, but that's how you put it, like it was a diagnosis. Everything that he's getting ready to mention right now, he was speaking on it as if Johnny was diagnosed with these things. Now he's going to take it back. These weren't diagnoses, so I didn't actually get on here and diagnose these people. Gaslighting, y'all. Watch him in action. Clearly, he has learned a lot from his clients. Because this right here, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Substance usage by themselves is not a psychiatric diagnosis. If you want to cut to the chase, psychiatry is not a diagnosis of that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. Ergo, I am basically commenting on the things that were brought to me, which are not diagnosis. But in evaluation, if I was going to treat a patient or anyone here, those are the steps I would take.
I think, started with the notion that this rule applies broader than diagnoses. It applies to professional opinions. Professional opinions relative to narcissistic personality traits, haven't you, sir? Relative to Mr. Depp.
Again, I believe you just commented on what it takes to do in a psychiatric evaluation to establish a diagnosis. I'm almost certain that's what you said. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you didn't say that, but I'm sure you did. And therefore, what I'm saying is neither IPV nor substance usage, nor narcissistic personality traits, a psychiatric diagnosis. And then under the rubric of expert witness testimony, you are saying I acted unethically under the rubric of expert witness testimony. So if you, sir, would like to perceive that expert witnesses are unethical, based on that, I am not going to sit here and disagree with you.
Gaslighting 101.
It's fairly obvious. But thank you. Go ahead.
Gaslighting 101.
These were your words. I'm just saying them back how they're interpreted.
Okay.
Look at Johnny. Look at the attorney and Johnny.
Let's start with the easy question.
Look at this lady right here.
That's pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Look at his mouth wide open. What in the world?
You are not rendering any diagnosis.
Wait a minute, let me freeze this for a minute. Hold on, let me go back just for a second. Because I really want to take note of the facial expressions that are in here. Okay. Go a little bit more. This guy, his mouth is wide open. Like, are you serious? Like, what in the world? I need a clear shot. Let me do it and pause it. Okay, he still got that face. This lady right here rolling her eyes. Johnny and his little, and Autumn getting a little kiki. This guy right here, he getting a little kiki out of it.
Let's start with the easy question then. Maybe
she's just shaking her head. Like nobody knows what to do but shake their head. Like he's smirking. Like what in the entire H is going on right here? Like everybody's sitting here just dumbfounded. Even the attorney here. If you watch his facial expressions, he's like, "Am I being punked? Am I being punked in the middle of all this?" Because you cannot believe that a psychiatrist, y'all. A psychiatrist, I had to do 10 additional years. Hold on, wait a minute. 4, 2. I did 13 years of additional school. And you ain't gonna catch me doing no mess like this. He did more than I did. And you sitting up here, and I guess because he doesn't have to answer to anybody, so it doesn't matter if he gets up here and says whatever, but
we can.
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the question.
Answer the question.
Sorry about that. getting into it.
You need to just answer the question.
Okay.
Tell him again, Judge.
You are not rendering any diagnosis whatsoever of Mr. Depp today or ever.
Okay, hold on. Y'all, I'm getting too much out of this. Okay, so what's going on right here? What's going on right here before I let this go all the way in, y'all? He has to look at that face. He has decided that he is going to ignore this attorney's question. He hit straight childish on this. He got straight childish about this with this particular situation. What he's doing right now, he's having a whole temper tantrum on that stand because he does not like the question that he is being asked. Now, people wondering what he's doing at this time until he finally look over at the judge and say, do I have to answer that question? And the judge said, yeah, you got to answer all the questions. Like, what is wrong with you? I don't know where in the world they got it. Oh, my goodness. Let me, Jesus, Joseph and Mary, let me take this back so y'all can get the full context of this right here. Let me just take it back a little bit because I know I'm running my mouth. Let me start.
Not rendering any diagnosis
A little bit more.
Saying back how they're interpreted.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start with the easy question then. Maybe we can.
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay. Sorry about that. Getting into it.
You need to just answer the questions,
Okay.
Dr. Speaker.
You are not rendering any diagnosis whatsoever of Mr. Depp today or ever.
No, I probably would say to you that certainly I would not say narcissistic personality, or I would say traits. Certainly from what I have read, intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis. So the answer is no for that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. The answer is no. But if you want to tell me that substance use disorder is a psychiatric diagnosis, the answer is yes.
But that wasn't an issue, was it? Whether Mr. Depp used substances. I mean, you said you've gone through the record. That wasn't really an issue at this trial. He's said it from day one.
Oh, so you're saying he's already admitted to the diagnosis?
He's already admitted to the use of the substances.
Well, again, there's a difference between admitting to substance use and substance use disorder.
Let's go back to what you just said about narcissistic personality traits.
Yes.
Narcissistic personality disorder is a DSM-5 diagnosis, correct?
Correct.
Diagnostic personality, and you haven't testified that Mr. Depp has narcissistic personality disorder, have you?
I would certainly, if I didn't, I'm certainly thinking that, but at least I'm going to say he has traits, which are characteristics of provisional diagnosis of, it's a provisional diagnosis of probably narcissistic personality disorder. But yeah, I mean, I do believe that.
Well, when you say provisional diagnosis, you know the DSM-5 requires, in order to find that diagnosis, 5 of the 9 factors.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't done that analysis. You've never made that diagnosis. You've just identified certain factors
That are criteria for the diagnosis.
Right. But you need 5 of 9 to get to the diagnosis. You've already told us that you didn't make a diagnosis. You're just identifying traits, correct?
I'm identifying traits that are consistent with the diagnosis, yes.
Oh, if I skipped over. Hold on.
Depp, today or ever.
No, I probably would say to you that certainly I would not say narcissistic personality disorder, I would say traits. Certainly from what I have read, intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis. So the answer is no for that. Narcissistic personality traits is...
Oh, that's not what I'm looking for.
And you haven't testified that Mr. Depp has narcissistic.
Go back a
use and substance use disorder.
Let's go back to what you just said about narcissistic personality traits.
Yes.
Narcissistic personality disorder is a DSM-5 diagnosis, correct?
Correct.
Diagnostic personality, and you haven't testified that Mr. Depp has narcissistic personality disorder, have you?
I would certainly, if I didn't, I'm certainly thinking that, but at least I'm going to say he has traits, which are characteristics of provisional diagnosis of, it's a provisional diagnosis of probably narcissistic personality. So, but yeah, I mean, I do believe that.
Well, when you say provisional diagnosis, you know the DSM-5 requires, in order to find that diagnosis, 5 of the 9 factors.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't done that analysis. You've never made that diagnosis. You've just identified certain factors.
That are criteria for the diagnosis.
Right. But you need 5 of 9 to get to the diagnosis. You've already told us that you didn't make a diagnosis. You're just identifying traits, correct?
I'm identifying traits that are consistent with the diagnosis, yes.
Okay, so they froze up. That's what it was. So let's see what they got going on. Let's see if I can get past this part.
Sure, which you are currently aware that the mere presence of narcissistic traits is a risk factor for IPV.
Am I answering the question?
Yes.
That's incorrect.
You didn't testify that.
A cluster B traits, which narcissistic personality disorder is part of, is a huge risk factor for intimate partner violence, which include cluster B traits include narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, amongst others. So the answer to the question is every resource on intimate partner violence will support that cluster B traits where narcissistic personality falls under is a risk factor for intimate partner violence.
Any single trait under is a risk factor for IPV.
Again, I will repeat, cluster B traits. I didn't say any trait. I said cluster. No,
let me be more precise then.
Okay.
Any narcissistic trait in and of itself is a risk factor for IPV.
But you are mischaracterizing what I said. What I said, I'm pretty sure I said cluster. If you look at all the intimate partner violence literature, I would behoove you to do so, you will see that cluster B traits. I didn't say narcissistic per se. Cluster B traits, where narcissistic personality disorder is part of, are risk factors for intimate partner violence, part and parcel uniformly true. And I'm not sure, the thing I don't understand is I'm not sure why we're arguing psychiatry, because I'm telling you what it is.
There it is. That's what I was talking about. I'm not sure why we're arguing psychiatry, because I'm telling you what it is.
Siegel, you just need to answer the question.
Hold on. That means don't question me. This is exactly what I was talking about. I don't know why we're arguing psychology, because I'm telling you what it is. I'm the psychiatrist. So let me go
Partially
back.
uniformly true. And I'm not sure, the thing I don't understand is I'm not sure why we're arguing psychiatry, because I'm telling you what it is.
Dr. Siegel, you just need to answer the question.
Okay.
So you want to talk about cluster B, so let's do that for a minute. Borderline personality disorder is a risk factor for IPV.
As part of cluster B traits, yes.
Histrionic personality disorder is a risk factor for IPV.
Less so.
But it
Less so. Less so. I mean, it's a risk factor, but less so, yes.
He's saying less so not because you know that Amber been diagnosed with that.
So,
come on, man.
which traits under narcissistic, before I move on there's only been one diagnosis in court of personality disorders, correct?
Woo! Objection.
I'm not sure who you're referring to. Are you referring to Mr. Depp? Ms.
Objection.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Do you understand that there was a medical examination done of Ms. Hurd?
Objection.
Yes, I did.
Do you understand that the testimony was ultimately that Ms. Hurd suffers from 2 personality disorders?
Okay, so I'm just being specific. I just wanted to know if you're talking about Ms. Hurd or Mr. Depp. So that's all I was asking you.
Yes or no to my question.
Which was his only.
Bingo, we're going to take that back. He walked right into that trap. He did not see the little trap door. He walked right into that trap. You saying that all these things are predicates of IPV. Well, if that's the case, then if all these things determine whether or not somebody is the perpetrator in intimate partner violence, then that means that Amber initiated, participated in, she was the one that was putting all this intimate partner violence out here because based on what you said, she meets the criteria. I'm just saying. Now, the only person that has truly been diagnosed with this stuff is Amber. That's why they getting him with this. He walked right into it. Yes, like y'all was saying, trying to be smart. He walked right into it. Now, he going to try to walk his way back out, but he walked right into it.
So, Ms. Hurd was diagnosed with that.
Yeah. And both of the diagnoses are in cluster B, and both of them are risk factors for IPV.
Yes.
Both those cluster B things are. I'm not allowed to comment on the testing. So therefore, all I could say is that cluster B traits, and I'll tell you what they are. And by the way, I testified this before, which was that 1, I don't expect perfection from my victims. 2, absolutely there are cluster B traits Ms. Hurd had. Absolutely.
Given that you've testified to it before, let's move on to a new question.
Okay.
All right. You indicated in your opinion today that you thought, well, why don't we move a little differently? Are you a member of the American Medical Association?
No.
Okay, so you don't know what the ethical rule of the American Medical Association is relative to doing clinical diagnoses about individuals you've never talked to.
So you're saying in terms of doing expert witness evaluations under that rubric, right?
I'm just asking you, do you know the AMA's rule?
You're saying AMA's ruling under the rubric of not to evaluate somebody you did not see. And I'm questioning, I'm asking, so you are talking about expert witness testimony?
No, I'm talking about, do you know the rule?
I'm not a member of the AMA, so I
don't
read
the rule. Okay, move on. You don't know the rule. All right. You rendered an opinion about Mr. Depp's purported cognitive impairment.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you use as a baseline?
A baseline for processing speed?
Yeah, for analyzing Mr. Depp before you watched his deposition.
What is a baseline for that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my baseline would probably be how I've seen him interact in public. How I've seen him interact with.
Yeah, I gotta pause this for a second, y'all. Let me preface this thing right here. They are about to make this man look like a complete idiot. That same idiot that he tried to call Johnny, they're gonna bring out in a few minutes. They made him look like a complete and utter idiot on this part. Y'all just, Lord have mercy. Just watch. They made him look like an idiot. I mean, sometimes you can be too smart for your own good. They just made him look like a complete idiot. No, he's not a fake doctor. He's definitely a doctor now. He's definitely a doctor. But he's just not operating. He's not operating right. He's not operating right. Listen to this. They're gonna play him so bad.
others. I've seen him interact in media. I've seen him interact and his process speed is certainly not slow. I've seen him do commercials. His process speed was not slow.
A deposition, didn't you say that what you did was compare Mr. Depp's performance in lots of pirate movies against his deposition testimony here?
What I said was I've seen Mr. Depp do apology ads. I remember he did an apology ad with Bad Dog with no delay in process speed. I've seen him interact with the media regarding to that. I saw no delay in processing speed. All I'm saying.
Let me ask you about pirates, though. You compared pirates to the to the depositions given in this case.
Then I apologize for what I said.
Don't apologize.
You misspoke. You didn't make the comparison
right now. Just a second ago. Just a second ago, I may have said that I misspoke. I apologize. I misspoke.
Okay. Because you know you can't compare pirates to sworn testimony, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But you can. But as an aside, you can judge someone's processing speed at any time. Like I'm judging yours right now. You're judging mine. We all judge processing speed as a baseline because of what we know about each other. I would say your processing speed right now is not slow.
Stop, Doc.
So, I mean, we're judging processing speed. I'm just saying to you.
Yeah.
Look at Camille.
Any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing?
Look, she got her head turned all the way to the side.
On interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right.
But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you?
Hold on, this when he get mad, so I gotta take it back.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Let me hold on.
Portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing speed?
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you?
Watch him, y'all. Watch him.
You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Do I have to answer that question?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka.
Oh my God.
I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened.
Oh my goodness. I'm saying. He got all the sense in the world, and I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. He did not see that Willy Wonka question coming. You looking at all the pirate movies trying to see you comparing his speed, the rate of his speed, and all his cognition to the Pirates movie. Well, what about the Willy Wonka movie? Well, what about when the Charlie was in the chocolate factory? What about that? That Doc said, "This mother sucker." You have to laugh because he has been like so combative, and so arrogant on this stand. He did not see that coming. And you see the other attorneys, y'all, people just sitting there laughing. That's why he got so mad when that guy asked him that question. And he just had a whole temper tantrum. He had a whole temper tantrum on that stand. Judge, do I have to answer that? Come on, I'm going to take this back one more time. I'm going to take it back. Let me take it back.
Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed? But no, any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing speed?
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Oh, what?
Do I have to answer that question?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened, whatever it was about. No, I did not.
I I cannot. Listen. My next class that I'm teaching, I am using this. What not to do. When you get up on there again, you play foolish games, you win foolish prizes. You getting up there with this buffale and they giving it back to you in return. You know this is not how you supposed to conduct yourself, Doc. You know that this not right. You know. Let me run that back one more time. I'm gonna have to just make that a short all by itself. Let me run that back one more time, Lord.
Speed.
Hold on, when he realized what that man
Any of
said.
Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies.
Hold on, let me show you. This was a setup too.
What we know about each other, I would say
Watch
your process
Camille.
right now is not.
This was a setup because before the attorney even got ready to ask the question, Camille already started laughing. She knew what he was getting ready to ask, so they had already discussed this. When they went on that little break, they discussed this.
Well,
watch
so,
Camille.
I mean, we're judging processing speed. I'm just saying to you.
Yeah. But no, any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing speed?
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Oh. That ain't so, Doc.
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened or whatever it was about. No, I did not.
All right. You made a very kind admission, I think, early on in your deposition.
Look at all them at that
You're
table.
not claiming to be a better actor than Mr. Depp. That's correct, isn't it?
100%.
All right. But with respect to acting, you know that actors actually rehearse for their parts and work on the language, diction, timing of their dialogue as part of that rehearsal?
If you say that, I'm not an actor, so I don't know what goes on. I can't tell you. I have no idea what goes on in acting.
Okay, but you don't know enough about acting to know whether actors rehearse?
Sir, I am not an expert in acting. I have no idea what an actor does.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this one because this one it doesn't go with the whole thing. Let me see what y'all talking about real quick as I go and get the other one. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Why? Why? Now the sad part is that all of the stuff that this doc has said, trying to throw it on Johnny and just completely negating the fact that Amber was the one that he was actually describing, he has some of these traits himself. Like what? They got the right one. They definitely got the right one. Oh my goodness. Me no say. I don't know. I don't know. Let me try to get this back to oh my goodness.
No, they said, and therefore expert witnesses cannot.
Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to get back to this spot. Oh my goodness. Where are we at now? Let's see.
Does that count? Because that's also probably not a good thing. Just because you have a prescription doesn't mean that
Mr. Depp would agree with you it wasn't a good thing.
we're living in right now. Folks gets lung cancer.
Oh no.
Work on the language, diction, timing
Okay.
of their dialogue as part of that rehearsal?
If you say that, I'm not an actor, so I don't know what goes on. I can't tell you. I have no idea what goes on in that.
Okay, but you don't know enough about acting to know whether actors rehearse?
Sir, I am not an expert in acting. I have no idea what an actor does.
Okay. During your deposition, what were the circumstances under which you decided to call Mr. Depp an idiot?
Under somebody call Mr. Depp an idiot?
Yeah, you called Mr. Depp an idiot in your deposition. Why?
Okay. So I think it was in the context. I think it was in the, you probably should read the context of it, because I think the context was, and I'm trying to think back, okay? And what I thought it was related to was if you're coming to some deposition, okay? And again, I'm thinking back, so you have it in front of you. I don't. So I'm thinking back where he's coming in from Europe for a deposition, video deposition that he gave, and he took it overnight the night before. And what I think I said was that if you're going to do a major thing toward a trial that you're involved with, I think you'd be an idiot to come in the night before. All right. So I didn't call Mr. Depp an idiot. I certainly called that planning an idiot. I didn't call him an idiot.
So the words, so I mean he's an idiot, are mistranscribed?
No, again, if I said it in that, if you just read one line, one snippet, I'm sure it was in the context I just said. But again, you have it in front of you, I don't.
Yeah. Is idiot a professional opinion?
I wasn't running a professional opinion.
Yeah. Is it a psychiatric opinion?
And that follows the Goldwater rule.
How does it follow the?
I just said that I'm not rendering a professional opinion. I just said idiot. That's not a.
So idiot is not a professional opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your practice to describe people as idiots?
My practice describe people. In my practice, no, I don't describe people my clinical cases as idiots or patients as idiots or victims as idiots. No, sir.
But you sat for a deposition in this case and described the plaintiff as an idiot, correct?
You gave me 9 hours of deposition, and if I said the word idiot, it was an idiot in planning. It wasn't making him an idiot. I don't know Mr. Depp's IQ. I don't know his overall functioning. So therefore, if I said it, it was an idiot in planning, which is what I meant to come across as.
All right. So you did say you don't know his overall functioning, but you made some testimony today as to some evaluations you made relative to his functioning. You would agree with me that it's probably a good idea to think about the questions that are asked you in a court proceeding before answering them.
Am I allowed to answer that question?
Yes.
Okay. So what I said by function, I believe that his agent reported how late he was showing up to every movie while the cast is waiting for him. I believe that would be an impairment. If I showed up late for that, I would not be here right now. I would not have a job. Okay. I believe the thing was in terms of balking out of treatment for substance rehab that his doctor is prescribing for him. So if you're asking me if that's an impairment of functioning, I would say I'm very much substantiated in that.
I'm trying to understand how you got to this notion of cognitive decline. And I thought it was based at least in part on the manner in which he testified.
I'm sorry, what?
On the manner in which he testified.
On the manner, I'm sorry, I'm not being difficult. I can't hear. I'm sorry. On what?
I was asking you about the cognitive decline testimony that you made.
Yes.
And it was my understanding that at least a portion of that testimony that you rendered was that you derived some evidence of cognitive decline from the way Mr. Depp testified.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I said, yes.
Right. And so all I'm asking you is, don't you think it's a good idea when you're in the middle of a court proceeding to answer questions carefully?
Again, professionally, we diagnose patients with a neurocognitive disorder by gross evaluation all the time with cognitive. On the thought that, again, age normal controls, I'm just saying, age normative controls does not put a 58-year-old gentleman at that processing. That's all I'm saying. That's all I said.
Let me pause this
And
for a
you
second.
derived this.
This processing that he says that somebody in their 50s, like they should be, like Johnny's processing was so far off that it wasn't age normative. He's talking about those 3 questions I was telling you guys about in that mental status exam, with the 3 words that he was supposed to remember. Again, there are so many different things that could have affected the reason why, or could have played a role in why he could not remember the words. But even myself as a clinician, and I know I got problems with my memory sometimes. I admit it. Like, I don't even remember the words that I asked them to remember. I got to write them down. And if I don't write them down, then we both get. So this is another one of those situations where they're going to make him look this small. Once they finish with this, they're going to make him look this small because he just came up with these opinions just out of the blue, just trying to pacify what these people wanted on this other side instead of doing it in a professional manner. So that's why he's getting what he's getting right now. And I'm sorry, y'all. I don't feel bad for him. And that may be wrong, but I don't feel bad for him at this moment.
Without ever once talking to the man.
Me directly talking to him. Because we know how I derived it. So you're talking about me directly talking to him?
Yeah, you never talked.
No, I've never talked to him.
Right. And this exam you gave, well, you did talk about Dr. Blaustein, right?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that the entirety of Dr. Blaustein's medical records are 12 pages of handwritten notes.
The important part was what I said. For me, as an example of cognition, which I'm trying to prove, which is what you asked me, the important part was what I said. And that was irrefutable.
The important part is that he gave the mini mental status exam?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk about the mini mental status exam. Scored on a 30-point scale, right?
Yes.
All right. And it's an exam that basically is most often used for Alzheimer's, dementia, those kind of testing.
It's an exam that tests cognition in all psychiatric illnesses, not just Alzheimer's. It was made for dementia, for Alzheimer's, but has been the standard for testing cognition in all psychiatric illness, substance use disorders included.
Okay. Now, there is an element of that exam that requires drawing, correct?
Yes.
So you don't know what drawing Mr. Depp did or whether the drawing should have been fully scored.
I wasn't questioning his visual spatial perceptual skills, which is what that does.
Right. And you don't know what score Mr. Depp received on the exam.
I was very specific. I know 3 words, not remembering at 5 minutes. That's all I said.
3 words, not remembering 5 minutes, and he remembered one of them, right?
From what I understand, he didn't remember any of them.
All right. Memory on the exam. Out of the 30 points, what's it worth? 3. 3, right? Memory is 3 out of the 30.
Yeah, memory is 3.
Okay.
But again, the memory section in and of itself tests memory. That's the only question that tests memory. Only section that actually tests memory.
So the memory section tests memory. It's the only section you testified about. And for all you know, that with respect to the exam that you're relying on, Mr. Depp scored 27 out of 30.
And that would be telling, though, cognitively, if you score 27 out of 30 and you miss 3 points on memory. That would be very telling.
You don't know if Mr. Depp had been up all night the night before.
Again, you wouldn't expect to not recall any words at 3 minutes unless there's a cognitive issue.
You don't know if Mr. Depp was high.
And again, now that could affect memory, but I'm not refuting that. I'm not refuting that at all. He could have been high, he could have been drunk, he could have been using cocaine, and that would absolutely affect his memory, which is what I said. Yes, you're right.
So ultimately, you have no idea what state Mr. Depp was in at the time he took the exam that you're relying on.
Short of what you just said about drugs and alcohol, Okay, there shouldn't be a reason why a 58-year-old, also with strokes and other neurocognitive conditions, but short of that, there shouldn't be a really good reason why someone at that age shouldn't come up with at least one. But an answer.
But wait a minute, you started that question with short of drugs and alcohol, and spent 35 minutes talking about his use of drugs and alcohol. Isn't that right?
Somebody come get Uncle Dave.
I agree with you. I think I agreed. I said that drugs and alcohol can absolutely affect cognition. I'm not sure. I agree, but I'm not sure if that's a problem. I agree with you on that.
All right. So you don't know one way or the other how he scored on the exam. You don't know whether he was at the time on drugs and alcohol, but you're going to rely on it in your testimony to say that he's cognitively impaired.
Which is what we do in clinical medicine, sir.
Okay. You rely on tests that you don't know when it was administered, you don't know the score of the test, and you don't know the state of the person being tested, but you're going to rely on it anyway.
Again, if we had to know every test, when people get the mini-mental state exam, we have no idea clinically if they are high, wasted, stoned, stroke. We have no idea. So if you're going to say that, that means everybody needs a drug test before they do a mini-mental study, and that's not the standard of care. And I think
okay, let me comment on that really quick. Okay, so when you're doing that mental status exam, you're usually doing that with the person right there. So you are able to tell if they're high or if they were drunk or if they had some other type of noticeable impairment. So that's not necessarily true what he's saying. That's usually done in person. So there's no reason for you not to be able to see those things. And as a clinician, especially as a psychiatrist, he should definitely be able to tell if someone is high.
Let's talk a little bit about this word you kept using, correlation. You know the word, right?
Yeah, the correlation.
Yes.
Correlation and causation aren't the same thing, are they, sir?
Oh, Lord.
Correlation? No, they're not the same thing.
No, how are they different?
Correlation is consistent with causation is direct link.
Can you say that again? You're so fast I didn't hear it.
I'm sorry about that. Correlation is a risk for something happening. Causation is a direct link.
Right. So just because something's correlated doesn't mean it's going to happen.
100%.
Right.
100%.
But lung cancer, for instance. Smoking is very highly correlated with lung cancer, right?
Yeah, and there's certainly a link to lung cancer and smoking.
Right. But not all smokers get lung cancer.
Not all smokers do. No one, like I said, no one fits the curve perfectly.
Right. And you've made repeated testimony to all of us. All of us do this. All of us do that. Mm-hmm. Your suggestion about all of us is you're just looking at the world as a sample and not at any particular
individual. Let me speak on that, because one of the things that he's doing, that he has done with a lot of his testimony on this, is overgeneralizing. Now, again, him being a practitioner, anyone that is a practitioner should know that overgeneralizing is actually considered a critical thinking error. That is a critical thinking error. You do not overgeneralize. It is what it is. You address whatever that thing is. Don't try to group everything in one category. He's doing this while he's attempting to gaslight the jury. So that's why he was doing it, hoping that they wouldn't catch on. And maybe they didn't, but with these attorneys are going to make sure that they catch on. That is a thinking error that he's doing, and he knows that. He knows that. But if people don't say anything about it, he'll continue to do what he's doing.
Individual, correct?
What I'm looking at is that I'm not talking about an individual, how they can or cannot be resistant. What I'm saying is invariably, when you use substances, this is going to happen. Now, is there a 0.05% chance that someone who does? Absolutely there is. But is that medical degree of certainty? Absolutely not.
A 0.05% chance of what, sir?
Of eventually developing symptoms. If you're using excessively, eventually you're going to develop symptoms.
Right. But risk factors tell us nothing about any one particular individual, do they, sir?
No. Again, risk factors tell us nothing except that if they have it, they're at a higher likelihood of developing it. That's what tells us.
But you did a whole litany of risk factors relative to IPV.
Yes.
Right. And none of those risk factors tell us anything specifically about an individual.
Other than they're at higher risk. Right.
Right. So someone could have every single risk factor for IPV and never commit IPV, right?
It would be, again, if you're going to say a medical degree of probability, the answer is they will. But if you're saying uniformly, the answer is
body
no.
language video on just 3 minutes of his body language. That would be an hour.
IPV can occur without substance abuse.
Oh, sure.
Someone can abuse substances without ever perpetrating IPV.
Again, absolutely. But again, you are saying different than what I said. I did not say abusing substance. I said substance use disorder. There's two different things, because there are surely people who use substances that do not engage in any violence, do not become psychotic, nothing at all. So
and that's
absolutely
equally true of people who have substance abuse disorder. There are certainly people who have substance abuse disorder who don't commit IPV, correct?
They are saying people who have substance use disorders, the majority of them, over 50% do. So over 50% do. So that's medical.
The answer is yes.
As you said, not everyone who smokes gets lung cancer.
So there are significant numbers of people. You said it was over 50. So you'd say 40% of the people who have substance abuse disorder don't commit IPV?
And those are the ones that do not have IPV risk factors, though, right? So we're talking about people
wait a minute. Isn't substance abuse disorder an IPV risk factor?
Oh, yeah. These are other people that don't have other risk factors, right?
But again, we're talking about people in general. You don't know anything about any particular individual as to whether anybody's going to commit IPV.
If statistics follow through, all we can say is more than 50%, 70% will. If you combine more risk factors you have, the more likely you're going to develop the illness. If you smoke cigarettes once, that might not correlate to lung cancer. If you smoke it chronically, that might.
Right.
So that's all I'm saying.
We're talking about individuals here. You either have lung cancer or you don't, right?
If you're smoking. Right.
You either commit IPV or you didn't.
I mean, yeah, you either did or you didn't, yes.
Right. So you took some issue with me because I was asking about substance abuse generally, and you wanted me to talk about the disorder. I asked you earlier about narcissistic personality disorder, and you haven't made that diagnosis. You've just talked about the traits, right?
Yes.
And somebody can have these narcissistic personality traits and substance abuse disorder and never commit IPV, right?
So, along that line,
right,
about 80 to 90% of people who commit IPV have a personality disorder. So the answer is less than about 10% obviously do not.
Right. There are more close links with IPV for borderline personality disorder than narcissistic personality disorder. Correct, sir?
I'm not going to agree with that.
No?
I'm not saying there are more links. I would say to you, there are absolute. If you're asking me there are links, the answer is absolutely. If you're saying to me more, I can show studies say yes, so studies say that. That has not been absolutely definitively correlated. No.
No.
Absolutely not.
MDMA. What is it?
Ecstasy.
Yeah. And what's the normal dosage of ecstasy for people who use ecstasy?
Again, I couldn't tell you the quote unquote normal dose because honestly speaking, no one knows what they're getting when they're using it, right? It's not regulated. So,
but the effects of ecstasy enhance sense of well-being?
At low doses, the answer is yes. I'm going to gather when you're using it at higher doses and develop tolerance, you develop the sympathomimetic effects, which are not so enhanced well-being.
Increased extroversion, that's a symptom.
Again, at low dose, you are 100% right. At low amounts, you are 100% right. It is an adaptogen. We feel closer to people. That's what people who use it say. They feel close to people, warm to people, 100%. But with continual use and higher doses, it could be fatal. Right. So that's not well-being. I don't know if I call that well-being.
So continued use at higher doses, MDMA can be fatal, correct?
Correct.
What if you took 8 to 10 tablets of MDMA?
What if you took again, you don't know what it's very hard to say that. You don't know what it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Contaminated with. Okay. You can't just say, hey, let me just take 8 to 10 pure ecstasy and see what happens. Yeah. That's not going to happen. So what I would say to you, again, because substance abuse are unpredictable, they are not regulated. No one knows what they're going to. No one has any idea whether it's going to cause this empathic and tactogen effect at very low doses, or is it going to cause the sympathomimetic, increase, it's like a stimulant, like cocaine and stuff we talked about like that. No one knows what's going to happen. It's not regulated. And no one knows if you're using with other substances either, like other stimulants.
Or if you mix it with alcohol.
Or if you mix it with alcohol. No one knows if it's going to be potentially worse.
Right. But this is a potentially lethal combination. 8 to 10 MDMA tablets and alcohol.
This is a potentially toxic combination.
Right.
Can it kill you? Yeah, I mean, it is a potentially toxic combination. That's true.
Ever heard of someone cutting off their own finger on MDMA?
Have I ever heard of it?
Yeah.
No, I can only give you one example.
Hadn't seen that one before. Okay. So, Seroquel. That one puts you to sleep, right?
If you want to phrase a barbiturate putting you to sleep, then the answer is yes.
Yeah, you heard Mr. Depp talking about sometimes being on the nod, right?
And again, I think I explained Seroquel very well this morning.
Good. I'm going to ask him a few more questions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. You kept making references to street value. Why were you doing that?
Because that's why people with substance use disorder use quetiapine and Seroquel.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
That's why people who use quetiapine or Seroquel can it sells on the street because it's so barbiturate-like in effect.
Right, but you said that Mr. Depp had a prescription.
There are many substance use disorder patients who have prescriptions for Adderall and quetiapine from their doctor, and that doesn't mean they're not getting high out of it. That doesn't take much. Doctors like to believe what patients have to say. They're not going to go in there being expert witness testimony. All I'm telling you is that in people who have substance use disorder, it is not uncommon. And the thought was initially that because quetiapine was not addicting, that it's safe to give in people with substance use disorders, when in fact, we absolutely know it has street value. Absolutely know that for a fact.
Right, but my point about this is you made a bunch of testimony about street value, but you knew at the time you made the testimony that Mr. Depp, in fact, had a prescription.
He also had a prescription for oxycodone and roxicodone. Does that count? Because that's also probably not a good thing. Just because you have a prescription doesn't mean that.
Mr. Depp would agree with you it wasn't a good thing.
Just because you have a prescription doesn't mean you can't abuse it.
No, I'm not suggesting you're abusing it. I'm just wondering why your testimony was in any way tied to street value when every single drug you referenced, Mr. Depp had legally.
Again, you can have prescription substance abuse, and we know that, correct? I shouldn't be asking that. We can have prescription substance use disorders, and that's not uncommon. And if you look at the opiate epidemic that we're living in right now, we can have that. That's not an uncommon thing. Unfortunate, but uncommon. Not uncommon.
So, Seroquel, I think you described as
Can
a
you hear me now?
sleeping agent
Test,
when
test,
used
test.
off label.
When I saw what?
Sleeping agent, Seroquel, when used off label.
When used off label, it's used. I can be used sleeping aid. Yes.
Right.
Can y'all hear me? I had cut my mic off. Test, 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 test. Okay, gotcha. So what I was saying at that particular time, what he was putting out there initially is that he was talking about referring to the medications and stuff that Johnny was taking. He talked about the Seroquel, he talked about the Adderall, he talked about oxycodone, he talked about Roxy, he talked about all this stuff, and he talked about it like Johnny was buying it off the street. So he's talking about the street value and stuff like Johnny was out here in the streets trying to get this stuff. And the attorneys are basically saying right here, why did you even put that out there? Like with the street value and all that stuff, like he was either out there buying them off the street or if he was hawking them on the street, like he was selling what he had on the street. When you know that all the medications that he had, even though you know that he was definitely abusing those medications, he was like, there's no question about it. He's been abusing them since he was a darn teenager. He's abusing this stuff, but all his stuff, he had prescriptions for his medications. He had personal doctors that was giving him these medications. So him putting this stuff out there, and the other thing that I was saying is you have like different people whenever like they don't have to necessarily go and get it from the street. You have what we call frequent flyers. So what they do is they doctor hop and they go from this doctor's office to this doctor's office. When they can't get it from the doctor's office, then they go to different emergency rooms. So they go to the local ones when they, can't get anything from the local one. They start spreading out. They go to the next county and they go to different places to try to get those medications. And we kind of have like a system where we start communicating like, okay, they've been, they've been seeking, like they looking for benzos or like whatever. We have some type of communication system. I just put it out there like that. And so once it starts, they can't go to like local places. Then they start hopping over state lines. Like for South Carolina, we'll have people jumping over to North Carolina and vice versa. North Carolina start trying to come over to the hospital rooms, the emergency rooms, the urgent cares over in, the neighboring state. So you have stuff like, but for Johnny, he didn't have to do that. He had his own personal doctors. He said he was having symptoms of whatever, he got the medication. So the thing is, why are you bringing up all this street prices and all this stuff when that has absolutely nothing to do with what he had going on? And that's why he's trying to spin now, because he like said all this stuff like in jest, and now you're having to come back and answer for what you said, and now he know that what he said from the beginning didn't make a lick of sense, and it was irrelevant from the beginning. So now he has to try to go back now and spin this stuff to justify what he was putting out there from the beginning, because he knew he shouldn't have been saying it. That's all I'm saying. Come on, Doc. I'm gonna need you to get it together.
So, Mr. Depp's use of Seroquel could account for some of the photos we saw in this in this trial, where he's asleep in a chair.
Again, what I would say to you is that if you have a substance use disorder, you are using it to be knocked out. Yes, I agree. But I'm not sure at the end of the day if she'd have vomitus over you either, because I've never seen Seroquel do that.
Look at Johnny's face.
So when he was passed out in the chair, he also had vomitus over him. I've never seen Seroquel do that ever.
Look at Johnny's face.
No.
Okay, here's the deal with that. For those of you that have been following the trial, Amber showed pictures of Johnny whenever he was having the nod, when he was nodding off, when he was sleeping, she was taking pictures of him. She had a picture with him on the couch, one hand in his pocket, like his legs were crossed. He's on the couch, he's out, and he has something in his lap. Amber clearly told them on the stand that it was ice cream. Ice cream. That's why I don't know if somebody set this doc up, if he looked at it and drew his own conclusions, but they are really about to make him look like a fool. That's why Johnny is looking like that. That's why the attorney at the table is looking like. That's why they're all looking at him like that. Like, what picture did they have a vomit? Like, what are you talking about? It was ice cream. He went to sleep. The ice cream turned over in his lap. So now, again, you're the professional on the stand. You're the expert, and you're sitting up here and you're giving bad information. Like, what you're saying is not factual. What you're saying is not true. Actually, I mean, it's a lie. That's not what it is. You just lied on this man. Hopefully it wasn't intentional, but that's what this look is. So I'm gonna take this back just a little bit to the beginning of what he's saying. So now y'all will realize where all these faces are coming from. And you see, even the people out in the audience are looking like, huh? His attorney, huh? What in the world? What the what? What the what? When you're trying too hard to convince the jury or to advance the other side closer to a win, and what you're saying is not factual, now you have yourself looking foolish. And if he needed any more help, Lord, he did not need any more help. He just, Lord have mercy. Let me just take this back.
I don't know if I call that well-being.
So continued use at higher doses, MDMA can be fatal, correct?
Correct.
What if you took 8 to 10 tablets? Right, but this is a potentially lethal combination. 8 to 10 MDMA tablets and alcohol. So Seroquel, that one puts you to sleep, right?
If you want to phrase a barbiturates putting you to sleep, then the answer is yes.
Yeah, you heard Mr. Depp talking about sometimes being on the nod, right?
And again, I think I explained Seroquel very well this morning.
Good. I'm going to ask you a few more questions.
Oh, okay.
Explain it again.
All right. You kept making references to street value. Why were you doing that?
Because that's why people with substance use disorder use quetiapine and Seroquel.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
That's why.
But you knew at the time you made the testimony that Mr. Depp, in fact, had a prescription.
He also had a prescription for oxycodone and roxycodone. Does that count? Because that's also probably not a good thing. Just because you have a prescription doesn't mean that
Mr. Depp would agree with you it wasn't a good thing.
Just because you have a prescription doesn't mean you can't abuse it.
No, I'm not suggesting you're abusing it. I'm just wondering why your testimony was in any way tied to street value when every single drug you referenced, Mr. Depp had legally.
Again, you can have prescription substance abuse, and we know that, correct? I shouldn't be asking that. We can have prescription substance use disorders, and that's not uncommon if you look at the opiate epidemic that we're living in right now. We can have that. That's not an uncommon thing. Unfortunate, but uncommon.
He's not supposed to be addressing that
So,
jury.
Seroquel, I think you described as a sleeping agent when used off label.
When I saw what?
Sleeping agent, Seroquel, when used off label.
When used off label, it's used. It can be used sleeping agent. Yes.
Right. So, Mr. Depp's use of Seroquel could account for some of the photos we saw in this trial where he's asleep in a chair.
Again, what I would say to you is that if you have a substance use disorder, you are using it to be knocked out. Yes, I agree. But I'm not sure at the end of the day if she had vomitus over you either. I've never seen Seroquel do that.
Johnny face.
So when he was passed out in the chair, he also had vomitus over him. I've never seen Seroquel do that ever.
Neurontin is another one of the drugs you testified about. That one's also
write him a note. Write him a note, counsel.
Right?
Write
Yes,
him a note.
it is.
And what's the prescription for that?
What's it used for? And what's its indication? Or what's its
I know.
I mean, its indication is for seizures. It may have one pain indication. Again, I'm not a neurologist, so I can't tell you exactly if it does. But it's chronically used off-label for pain. It's used off-label for anxiety.
Right. And what's its effect? That's another one that'll put you to sleep, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, sure, 100%.
Right. And you made reference to a picture. There's been testimony around that picture that Mr. Depp fell asleep with ice cream in his hand. That's not vomitous, right?
I was told it was vomitous.
Okay.
Who told you that? Look at John. Who told you that,
You talked about the fact that Mr. Depp indicates that from time to time he uses an earpiece.
They about to make him look crazy.
I read that, yes.
Okay. Did you read the testimony of Mr. Wyatt, who told you what was being pumped into that earpiece?
Yeah. I mean, if I remember right, I think it was lines, right?
No, it was music.
It was music, not his lines?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if Mr. Depp was listening to music rather than being fed his lines, does that change your opinion as to his cognitive function?
If he was never fed his lines through the earpiece, which I know he was.
How do you know,
but
Doc?
read he was. And that may have been that example. Mr. Wyatt may have said that it was music. I guess the question is, were you having the music during the actual talking of your lines? Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, if you can do two things at once, that's a pretty high cognitive function, isn't it, sir?
It's a very good point, actually. Divided attention is something humans have a lot of trouble in. So, for instance, we have trouble driving and putting on using our cell phones and direct. So, divided attention, humans actually are not very good at. I'll put that out there.
But
in general, not just Mr. Depp, in general.
But Mr. Depp is pretty good at acting. You acknowledged that early on.
Absolutely. Well, better than me, so I know that.
Because you don't act. In fact, you don't know about acting.
You're right. I have no idea about acting.
And you don't know how prevalent the use of earpieces are in acting.
Again, I know nothing about acting.
Irrespective of the fact you know nothing about acting, you've testified that Mr. Depp's use of an earpiece is somehow a cognitive deficit.
So if I was giving a lecture and I was fed my lines, I would think there's a cognitive deficit. So and maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Hollywood stars get lines fed to them through earpieces all the time, and I don't know. That could be said. It sounded to me to be unusual if you're doing a movie and you don't know the lines. But like you said, I'm just judging what I do with lectures, and that would never happen.
If you gave lectures, you wouldn't use an earpiece, but you're not going to tell anybody how to act.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said, if you gave lectures, you wouldn't use an earpiece, but you're not telling anybody how to act.
Right. I would not use an earpiece during lectures.
Right.
But I don't know what the standard for care of standard is Hollywood is for that. I have no idea.
Your testimony about the use of an earpiece as maybe you were wrong. You're comfortable with the fact that you may have made a mistake there?
No, because I think in the basis of what I've read about it, I'm comfortable that I don't believe that actors are routinely given their entire script.
Just say you were
earpieces.
wrong.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah,
But
there's not one whit of evidence that this ever happened here.
I guess what I said. I just said I find it hard to believe. I didn't say it. I said I find it hard to believe.
That is not
That's all I said.
professional.
Oh, yeah, but
That's
what you
not
found hard to
professional.
believe, sir, was that every line of the script was pumped through an earpiece. Where did you ever get the idea that occurred?
That's what that's what I read, and the court review, the court evidence. That's where I got it from.
And
Where?
you know whether Marlon Brando used an earpiece?
Listen.
Isn't he dead?
Yeah.
So the answer is no. He does not use one now.
No, I used the past tense. Sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know nothing. I will concede to you. I know nothing about acting. I will concede to you 100%. If that is the standard and people are done that acting, then I apologize, and that was wrong on my part. If that's the standard, I'm wrong. I don't know.
Okay,
No further questions.
let's go with that. No further questions.
All right. How long is your briefing?
A bit. You may want to take.
All right, let's go ahead and break for
God.
lunch then, ladies and gentlemen. Again, do not do any outside research. Do not discuss your testimony with anybody, okay?
I just gotta look at the faces. He just cursed somebody out. My gosh. Oh, he is mad. His face, he is tearing that Gatorade up and cursing on his breath at the same time. What you keep saying, Doc?
All right. So let's come back at 1:55 then. All right. Is that fine?
All right, thank you. 155.
All right.
Oh, my. Okay, y'all. Let me get your thoughts on this. I'm gonna start with this on this. Like I said, that just the doctors alone with the testimonies today, just the doctors stole the show. Yes, there was another female that came on. Like I said, she's like an entertainment consultant. And she was basically speaking on basically saying that Johnny really didn't lose any money because of the op-ed that all the money that he lost was because of his own doing, his substance use, whatever. Again, the thing that's bothering me about this is that they are completely overlooking Amber's substance use. Like, why are we overlooking this? Like, she used a lot too. Why we just gonna act like we only had one user in this whole situation? That's bothering me. That should not be one-sided. Again, all the stuff that the doctor was saying, I mean, a lot of that stuff was true until he started putting the spin on a lot of stuff that he said was true, but it didn't necessarily apply to Johnny. I mean, it more so applied to Amber. And we just overlooking it's too much. I am so disappointed in him. I am truly disappointed. And Dr. David, Lord, I forgot his last name. Siegel. I'm completely disappointed in him. I am so disappointed in him. Again, just took notes on him. The gold water rule. He danced his way around that. You are a member, not just a member, but a fellow with the American Psychiatric Association. If nobody else holds true to the rules and standards of conduct and whatever for that association, then somebody that is a fellow, if nobody else does what they're supposed to do, you should be holding true to those rules. And he danced all around that, got upset, showed his ASS on that stand. From every angle, he showed his ASS on that stand. Let me see. For me, I stopped taking notes with the two doctors because I felt like that was enough. I felt like both of their testimonies were a complete waste of time today. And I'm only saying that, well, he actually said that it was a waste of time because if we're saying that they can't go and just speak on stuff without seeing the people, then it's a waste of time. Okay, for the orthopedic surgeon, he put some good information out there, but again, it would be better if he just spoke in general because he wasn't able to see Johnny face to face. Now, if you're just looking at his fractures, you're looking at X-rays, you're looking at like whatever you're looking at, that type of stuff, then okay, you speak on that. But actually speaking as to what happened to him, what was used, who's lying, who's telling the truth, you don't know that information. You have never met these people face to face. You don't have haven't had any type of personal interaction with them. So, like I said, if they were just putting him on there to speak in general, then I can see them doing that just to give the jury an overall idea of what his injuries were and what those injuries, what it looks like, but actually speaking as to whether or not Johnny was telling the truth about his injury versus what Amber said or versus what the chef that was there said, like any of that stuff, he should have just stayed out of that. He should have stayed completely out of that because for me, I think that damaged his credibility at the end of the day. Of course, if somebody's looking for a shady doctor to come and testify, then yeah, that's gonna let people know who they need to come to. But I mean, other than that, for somebody that wants some real services, if somebody's looking for a real provider that they are comfortable with, a trustworthy provider, I wouldn't fool with either one of them. I absolutely would not fool with either one of them. The fact that the judge had to tell Dr. Siegel on a couple of occasions that he just needed to answer the question. Again, as a professional, as a psychiatrist, no grown woman, especially a judge on the stand, should have to tell you that you need to answer a question. No judge needs to tell you that you need to act appropriately while you're on the stand. Nobody needs to tell you that. If anybody knows how they need to act when they're out in public, Dr. Siegel knows if nobody else knows. So nobody should have had to go and basically scold him while he was on the stand because he decided to act like a child. And I'm going to say he literally acted like a child on that stand. His comment, I'm not sure why we're arguing psychiatry because I'm telling you what it is. Again, just because we got these little titles sitting here, that does not mean that we know everything. Don't let nobody fool you. We may know some things and we got specialties that we may know stuff about. But if you don't know, then you don't know. Just say you don't know. Don't go trying to make stuff up and going out here. All money is not good money, and I'm just gonna leave that there. And I didn't even check to see how much he got paid for his testimony. I'm sure it was a lot. Let's see. He did apologize for misspeaking when it came to the parrot situation because he realized the pirates of Caribbean. Whenever he was saying that he compared Johnny's voice and all that stuff, his cognition and all this kind of mess to his acting role. Like, are you serious? He's in a role. So he finally came around saying that, okay, maybe I misspoke on that. When you misspoke on a lot of things, Doc, you need to come back and you need to do your own op-ed talking about the mess you made while you were up on the stand because that was a mess. Calling the client an idiot, whether it was during a deposition or not, completely unprofessional under any circumstances. I can't see any situation where it would have been okay or even necessary for you to call Johnny Depp an idiot. Amber, any of them, there would have been no. I mean, if you want to say that on your own personal time, then that's fine. You're on record. What is professional about you calling somebody an idiot in any type of way? Like, there's nothing professional about it. That was completely unprofessional. Oh my goodness. The overgeneralizing. And that's what makes me believe too that when it comes to that Goldwater rule, he was familiar with it. He was absolutely familiar with it. That's why he tried to do he did a lot of overgeneralizing, which is basically what he was supposed to do. You get up there and you speak in general. You shouldn't be speaking on something specific because you haven't examined the person and you haven't been given permission to do so. So you speak in general. So he tried to play both sides of the fence. So he was trying to speak in general in some parts, but then he had to do what he had to do for his clients because they were paying him. So my thing is, if you can't do what you're supposed to do, just leave it alone and let them go get somebody else to tread that little line, because you're damaging your credibility at the end of the day. Maybe you don't mind. I don't know. The picture that he spoke about with Johnny Depp, again, he didn't say he misspoke on that, and they didn't even show the attorneys at the other table to see what kind of facial expressions that they were making, and they didn't object. And I noticed that on all this stuff, they did not object because they knew he had already hung himself. Like there was really nothing that they could say because he was so far out there and he had already said so much, kind of like Amber, just rambling on. And that was another thing, he was rambling on the stand, and that's something that if he came into the office, or if I came into his office and I was rambling, he'd start taking notes immediately. Client rambling, like we noticed that stuff. But that's what old Doc was doing up there. Oh my goodness. The statement about the lines, the people feeding the lines into the earpiece. Once again, is that a sign of some type of cognitive impairment or some type of cognitive deficit? Not necessarily. Again, you don't know what people have going on. People could be actually participating in 2 or 3 different movies at the same time. So what if somebody had to get some lines told to them in their ear? But the testimony was that the guy was feeding him music. Give me this context, right? That the guy was feeding him music in that headset. So whether or not he believed it, that's the testimony that was given. And he's saying, well, I don't believe that. I don't believe. Based on what? Based on what? If what you heard is not actually what it was, then what are your beliefs based on? You saying it's what you read? Where did you read it at? Just asking. Oh my goodness. And to that extent, he did not want to admit that he was wrong. At no point did he admit that he was wrong on that. There was another, and let me see if I can get that really quick, because Miss Elaine, she came back and tried to redirect. You know how Camille say, they're gonna come back and rehabilitate you. She comes back and does a redirect on this, and she tries to come at Johnny, and they shut her down with it. She was basically trying to say that Johnny was a narcissist, try to bring it back to Johnny, saying even though Johnny didn't have the diagnosis, didn't you say that he exhibited these traits? And she basically said, so what about Johnny sitting at the table drawing and eating and eating candy at the table? Would you consider that a sign? And Johnny's attorneys object real quick. The judge sustained it real quick, and they went about their business. Because at this point, you can't save this. Like, don't save him. He don't want to be saved. You can't save him at this point. He Jesus, Joseph and Mary. That's all I can say. You just, my gosh. Oh, what did I do right here? Okay, man. Yeah. So this is what happened today. And I'm sorry, sister girl, can't get no airplay over here because the doctors were exhausting all by themselves. Dr. Spiegel was exhausting all by himself, and we could go and do videos on him for days, breaking down his testimony, his behaviors, mannerisms, his body language, the words that came out of his mouth, his tone. Like we can look at it, his, the context of what he said versus his age. I mean, it's a lot of things that can be looked at with him too, because I'm not gonna say that because I don't want nobody coming at me about that. But yeah, he put a lot of stuff out there. He did a lot of speculation. We would be lying to ourselves if we said that Johnny did not have a drug problem. Johnny did not just a drug problem, a substance problem. He is a substance abuser. I'm not going to even say user. He's a substance abuser. He abuses substances, but Amber does as well. And one doing it doesn't make, one worse than the other. They are like equally involved in this thing. They all engulfed in this drug culture. So it is what it is. And they both need to get help for it. But that does not negate from the fact that just because he uses substances, you can't just go and beat on people and do them any kind of way and then turn around and say that they did this stuff to you and then blame it on them. They did it to you because they're on substances when you were on substances too. And I want to know how many times whenever, she violated him, how many times during that time was she actually sober? Because listen to the sister's testimony, the sister said rarely ever was she sober. And they were doing stuff together, and then Amber was doing stuff with Johnny. So, I mean, how are you trying to get somebody else? How are you trying to guide them to sobriety when you're not sober your darn self? I mean, that's kind of like, it's kind of hard for you to say, do as I say, not as I do, because when people see you partaking in stuff, they're not taking you seriously when you're telling them that they don't need to do this and they need to stay away from that. When they see you doing the same thing that you're telling them to stay away from, that's not how you help somebody. That's not how that works, and that's probably why it didn't work for her. Like, if you want him to get off, you get off. Why don't y'all get off together? All of it. Why wasn't that one of the options? Let's do this together. Let's both go. Whenever he's going to get substance abuse treatment, you need to have your butt right on up in there too, because you are not clean. You worried about them testing you during a movie role or whatever, because that was another interview that she had, another video that was out. She was worried about getting tested during one of the movies because they suspected that she was using cocaine, and she was, allegedly. This is what one of her co-stars in the movie was saying, because she offered him some. So my thing is, we got to get out of this thing, and I want people to just get out of this. We just got to do what the women say on this, and the women are always right, because we know we can both sides, even in the middle. Everybody can be deceptive. Everybody can be manipulative. Everybody can lie. Everybody has a tendency to lie, to get things to go their way. If stuff not going the way they think it should go, and they feel like they can get things to go in their direction if they lie. Like, people lie. Lying don't discriminate. Lying does not discriminate. So I just want to be careful. And I hope that this trial opens people's eyes, like, all the way around, that it's not just women that are victimized. There are times when men are victimized. And we don't know how often it happens because very few men report it. You usually find out about it a different way. Another thing that he said on there earlier, and I didn't play it, is that he said that the perpetrator never goes to counseling. They never get treatment. That's not true. That's not true. If that were the case, then we wouldn't have to do certain groups for perpetrators of certain types of violence or certain types of abuse. Now, it can be said that they may not go on their own, that maybe they only go if they're court ordered. I can go with that, because a lot of them are court ordered, and that's the reason why they decide to go. But to say that they never seek treatment, maybe they don't seek treatment in the place where you are, but I know I've treated a lot. So I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Doc gonna have to get it together. Doc is definitely gonna have to get it together. I think that he misrepresented this mental health field all the way around. He made us look bad. He made us look bad, and I ain't taking that back. I stand on that. He made us look real bad, but he made himself look even worse. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. Hope you guys enjoy the commentary tonight. I'm gonna be watching the trial tomorrow. Hope you guys are watching the trial tomorrow. We know that they're supposed to do their closing arguments, I think, Friday, I'm thinking. I'm not sure. The jury is set to deliberate starting on Friday. We're going to see what happens. Nobody knows. We're going to stay tuned and keep our eye out, because we know that Kate Moss is supposed to be doing her little thing. We're hearing it's supposed to be live video. Either way, Amber brought a name up. She coming to speak up for her homeboy. She said it ain't going down like that. You're not gonna have people thinking this man pushed me down a flight of stairs like this and think I ain't gonna come out here and say something. Let me come on out here and break this down so that it can forever and consistently be broke. So we're looking forward to that. We take Johnny off because as of now, Johnny is no longer on the list to testify again because they were going to call him again. That's gone. That's gone. That's not going to happen. And that's pretty much it. We're going to see what Johnny's team has to do, what they're going to do in the end. We're going to see how Camille closes this thing out. Hopefully they let her close this thing out. Since she's had her little her worldwide debut because the world is watching. So I hope they let her close this out, and we're gonna see what happens from there. So again, if you like this content, you got something out of it, make sure you hit that like button on your way out. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I talk about a lot of different things, but ultimately I try to keep it real with you on the situation. Sometimes I'm gonna come to you from a clinical aspect as Dr. Rogers, and sometimes I'm just gonna try to bring it to you like the best way that I can. And it's not so much clinical; it's just my opinions or my personal analysis on what I see. So if you get something out of that, like, subscribe, share the video. And if you would like to become a member, if you would like to become a certified dime, then hit that join button and become a certified dime today. With that being said, you guys know what it is. If you got nothing else out of this video tonight, I want you to remember this one thing. Remember this one thing. No matter what's going on around you, mind your business. Mind your business. Be about your business. Do your business. Stick to your business. Mind your business. With that being said, I'm out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.